We're back. Night two, or day two, rather, of the 2024 NBA Draft. We're doing live coverage once again here on the Gryd Network. I am Bryson Carver. I'm joined once again by my man, Mike Guido. Again, Mike, this is our fourth year doing this, but the first time that not only us, but anybody has done any NBA Draft coverage on a second day beyond, obviously, the first round concluding last night. And it was a nutty first round, I think, as we all kind of expected it to be. So, first of all, how you feeling, and any sort of takeaways? A sleep removed, I guess, from the immediate action of the first round.
Yeah, I mean, I first of all, Bryson, how are you? I'm glad that we're
Yes.
back for a second day. I think it's kind of ridiculous that we're back for a second day, as we've touched on before. But yeah, I mean, I think you can come away from the first round. I said from the beginning I thought this was going to be a crapshoot draft, and I think that's exactly what it is. Not a whole lot of order in this. I think there were a lot of moves that were unexpected. I mean, and you can really kind of start off with what Minnesota did last night, trading up to go get Rob Dillingham, and I wouldn't even say trading up, just trading for the pick, using picks from a decade from now. It's really kind of interesting what they did last night. I think they come away as a clear winner from yesterday. Rob Dillingham, Terrence Shannon, I think can't be overlooked as well. So they did really, really well last night. And again, there were two guys that I had ranked in the 50s that went in the first round yesterday when Milwaukee took A.J. Johnson and when Oklahoma City traded up back into the first round to go get Dylan Jones. That's those were some pretty surprising things. But today it's a much different story. Today is Bronny James Day, I think. So we'll be on that watch for a while. Listen, I'll spoil it right now. Bronny James is number 62 on my big board. So, it's if you're taking him in the second round, I think he's a draftable player, but he's not like, he's clear. Obviously, he's not a clear-cut must-have talent, but, that we'll see. We'll see where he goes today. It should be very, very interesting.
It should be interesting. Real quick to your point about A.J. Johnson, because, we're sort of like half watching the draft coverage on ESPN. We're kind of locked in, obviously, what we're doing here. I didn't realize A.J. Johnson was sort of going to what you were saying about him being the 59th ranked player on your board, I believe. They had to call him up from the stands in the arena to go get his draft pass. So I don't know if I'm sure that's happened before, but it was kind of weird to see that for the first round of a draft. But yeah, it's been an eventful last 24 hours or so with this draft, with other moves made around the NBA. And like you said, it is Bronny James Day. And do you think, we sort of touched on it before we went on the air here, do you think there's a possibility, because it's been speculated on, that a team could step in front of the Lakers, take Bronny James, and almost use him as leverage to get some more picks for themselves?
It is kind of funny when you kind of bring it up that way, because I don't know that that's ever happened before, right? I don't know that we've
Not in
ever
the second round
seen a hostage situation with a player quite like the one that we could see with Bronny James. I think realistically, no, I don't think that's going to be a scenario. I think that it could be, kind of like a, just in case the Lakers were very, very serious about teaming up Bronny with his dad, they could be saying, hey, I'm interested in Bronny at, I don't know, whatever, pick 48. You got to trade and, give us some stuff to get up here. We're going to take, I think that it's more pandering than anything else. But look, here's the thing is I don't know that teams are really faking interest in him either. I think that there's legitimate upside that comes with Bronny James. Obviously, there are a lot of question marks. He probably could have used an extra season or two in college to refine his skill set and everything like that. At least that's what I would have done. I think he should have stayed, but he's athletic. He's a good defender. He's a very smart player. He's a good playmaker. He does a lot of things right. He shows a lot of traits of being a true lead guard in the NBA. He isn't a refined scorer. You know what I mean? Which is, again, a little bit like his dad was. Obviously, he's not the nearly the same prospect of his dad, but it's in a lot of similarities. They share some things in common. So, there is legitimate interest. He's not a bad player. He's just had some issues. Obviously, he had the heart thing, which was pretty scary early on, and then he was pretty much sitting behind Isaiah Collier all year at USC, and he didn't play all that much. So, I think that there's legitimate interest in him, but that's what I mean. It's like this whole situation is so interesting when you really break it down, because could we really see like a true ransom situation here where a team holds Bronny hostage for for the Lakers because LeBron wants to play with him. I think that's a really funny, interesting story.
It is an interesting story, and I know it was funny. It felt like, I don't know, a couple months ago, the story as it pertained to somebody other than the Lakers drafting Bronny was, we're going to try and lure LeBron here.
Yeah.
Where I think it's been well documented, well reported over the last few weeks or so, especially as we get up toward free agency. LeBron's going to opt out of the last year of his contract, likely sign a three-year contract with the Lakers. JJ Redick referred to LeBron multiple times during his press conference. So LeBron's going to be a Laker. So that story's sort of off the table. But just hearing you describe it, it's kind of unprecedented. I mean, to see a like you said, a clear second-round talent, guy who, as you said, likely or probably should have stayed in college a little bit longer. That's really fascinating as well. Going to some of the guys we're going to see picked right off the bat here, guys like Johnny Furphy, Kyle Filipowski. I thought all of us, you, Dylan Lima, who's a big Celtics fan, and myself, thought he was going to end up going to Boston at number 30. They decided not to go that route. There's plenty of other guys down the board. Again, it's Tyler Smith as well. Who do you think is there one name? Toronto's obviously going to come on the clock pretty soon. Is there one name that you're kind of looking at and saying, okay, this is a dude that could have easily gone in the first round, but could go to the right situation here early on in the second?
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see where Tyler Kolek goes as well. Point guard out of Marquette. He's a little undersized. He's not a super athletic kid, but he plays a winning brand of basketball, right? I mean, he's a good passer. He can shoot. He does a lot of things right. Like, he reminds me a lot of Goran Dragic, just that kind of almost do it all point guard. So I think it'll be very interesting to see where he goes. Obviously, Kyle Filipowski is somebody that I expected to go in round one. Another one of these really smart, seasoned players. Tyler Smith, high upside kid. There's a couple international players that I'm really interested to see where they could go. One of them being Nikola Jurisic. Another one being Juan Nunez. I mean, there's a laundry list of guys that are going to be still available that I think can make an immediate impact. So we'll see how tonight goes, Bryce.
Yeah, and again, like they're showing on ESPN right now some of the best second-round picks in history. I mean, Jalen Brunson was obviously a second-round pick and has gone on to have a tremendous career. Could be the best player in a Knicks team that many folks think could maybe make a finals run, given some of the moves that they made over the last 24 hours or so. So you have that component to it. You obviously have Nikola Jokic, who's I think at this point, the undeniable greatest second-round pick of all time. I don't think it's remotely close. The three MVPs championship. Draymond Green was selected. Monty Ginobili was selected in the second round. I mean, the smaller Isaiah Thomas was selected in the second round. So even all the way to pick number 60, it may not be like a Mr. Irrelevant type of situation like what we see with the NFL in round 7, but it certainly is a fascinating sort of storyline to keep your eye on, especially with some of these, as you said, high upside guys who maybe aren't quite as refined, kind of more raw prospects. So that's going to be really interesting to watch. But I don't know. So as far as yesterday, you sort of allude to Rob Dillingham ending up with the Timberwolves, which I think was, listen, if Dalton Knecht wasn't the steal of the draft, then that was, for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Do you think, I'll just sort of talk about them for a second, because that is a team that's kind of on that same track as Oklahoma City, somewhat like the Knicks, kind of has been rebuilding over the years. I didn't know Dennis Rodman was a second rounder. There you go. Over the years has been sort of progressing and building to the point where we're expecting the Timberwolves to go deep this time, as opposed to this year. Let's see how far they go. Do you think Rob Dillingham makes that type of impact off the bat for Minnesota, to where he's a key contributor to maybe a finals team?
I think he should. I mean, listen, he was my number 3 overall player for a reason, and I think you could plug and play him right now and just have him be a shot creator, a spark on offense, of the likes of somebody like Darius Garland, when he was with the, in Cleveland. So I think that as far as just, shooting the basketball, creating shots for himself, getting his teammates involved, I mean, I think Rob Dillingham really does fit. It kind of depends on, where they feel that he is, just from a readiness standpoint. But I think pairing him with Anthony Edwards in that backcourt, I think could be a really solid pairing for a long time, because those are two guys that can really light it up if you give them the opportunity. So again, Rob Dillingham, I can't get over how well Minnesota did last night. I think they really, really shined, and made a lot of, they made 2 really solid picks that are going to help them right away with Dillingham and Terrence Shannon. Terrence Shannon's going to walk in and be a rotational player right off the bat. He's a 5-year college player, and he was super, super productive this past year at Illinois. So I'm really excited about what they did. And Rob Dillingham, like I said, I think is one of the better players in the entire draft. He was my best overall point guard in the draft for me. I just think he's that electric of a scorer. So yeah, I would expect him to make a serious impact next year. And I think if they're smart, they will do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think obviously when you talk about the upper management in Minnesota kind of stealing some of Denver's executives, like that's what you see a lot of these organizations do when they're in a rebuild. Like take some of the best executives from some of the more well-run teams and try and create your own identity in that way, and taking smart people from smart organizations, and to the Timberwolves' credit, they've done that. So again, we've had a lot of media reaction today to some of the picks. I don't think any more so than obviously because they're the biggest brand in basketball, but the Lakers selecting Dalton Knecht, I have to admit to you as a Tennessee Vols and Golden State Warriors fan, I still haven't quite recovered from it. Yeah. I think if we can further elaborate in this before the second round starts, I think he is a flawless fit with the Lakers, especially now that JJ Redick is there and what he's going to try and do. Just talk about sort of the fit, not just in terms of, we know what he brings to the table in terms of scoring and at every level at the basket. He's got a good mid-range 3-point shot. He can play off the ball. He can set screens. Talk about though his fit with the Lakers and how he could work with LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
I mean, I think it's kind of clear cut, right? It's almost self-explanatory where Dalton Knecht can score from every level of the floor and LeBron James can get him the ball. Like, I think that's really as simple as you can make it. The fact that the Lakers were able to steal him, and I want to use that term, like, I really want to like emphasize that term because they really did steal him, right? Dalton Knecht should not have fallen all the way down to 17. I had him going 12 in my mock draft, and I thought that I was having him slide maybe a little bit more than he should have. Listen, just as far as a scoring standpoint is concerned, I mean, the guy can do it all. He's such a crafty finisher. Mid-range game is elite. He's a great 3-point shooter. He's great off the dribble. Like, he's just a really good offensive player. The ball doesn't really stick to his hands. So, he has a lot of that going for him. The key for the Lakers, and I said this, to you yesterday about whatever team was going to draft Dalton Knecht, not even just the Lakers, but he needs to be put in a position where he actually gets the ball and they have plays designed for him. He will walk into the NBA ready to score. It's not like he won't be ready. He will be. You just have to get him the ball because he's going to struggle defensively at this level. He will. At least early in his career, he will struggle defensively. So in order to even out his plus minus, you have to give him the ball in certain situations. So, but I'm with you, Bryce. I think it's a seamless, perfect fit. And I'm going to be excited to watch it. I think he becomes one of their more like key, offensive players going into next year, like maybe fourth option or something like that. That's, I think, immediately what he becomes.
No, I agree with you, and it's funny. I saw some clips from Rob Pelinka's press conference from last night, and he almost seemed flabbergasted that we were having this discussion about Dalton Knecht falling to number 17. And you talk about, he was discussing JJ Redick was already drawing up plays, ATOs for Dalton Knecht, and that fit just seems to really make a lot of sense. Finally, before the second round starts, Zach Edey going at number 9 to the Memphis Grizzlies. I think this was a guy who, I don't know if I've ever seen a draft stock change. This is okay. How do I explain this? Between his last game and the actual draft, because during the tournament, it's like, hey, he's like a high second round pick. And last night goes with the top 10 to Memphis, obviously, who's trying to add some size with Jaren Jackson Jr. Talk about Zach Edey and his fit with Memphis, because it is a risky pick.
It's risky in some sense. I mean, I think Zach Edey has a lot of traits that people are going to like, right? I mean, I think he's going to walk in. He's going to be an interior scorer. He's going to be a paint presence. I mean, just his size alone is going to give him some interior presence. He's not like a naturally gifted defensive player, but he's a smart player who uses his size to his advantage on the defensive end. He's just big and he's long. And so I think that really is going to bode for him well. And I think, like I said, the Grizzlies really did themselves a favor. They were trying to get up and get Donovan Clingan to try to move. They were going to have Clingan play the 5 and have Jackson play the 4. And I think that's what they're going to do here with Edey. I don't know that Edey is going to be somebody that they're just going to stick on the bench, put him in for 11 minutes a game, and just, I don't know that that's going to be how they operate. I think Edey's going to play a significant role for them. And Jaren Jackson is going to move down into that lineup. I think it just makes them more defensively stout. So I actually like the fit. I know that people are a little worried that Edey's game doesn't really translate. I don't really see it that way. I think in the role that he's going to be playing, he's going to do just fine. His touch around the rim and his size and defensive ability, just using his size and leveraging his size, I think is going to play perfectly fine in the NBA.
Well, listen, you make a compelling case, and one of the, if I could add to that, for Memphis, it's because of the injuries that Steven Adams and Brandon Clark have sustained over the last couple of years. Like this was kind of a big need for them, to where, as you sort of alluded to, Jaren Jackson did have to play the 5, which isn't his natural spot. Gets him. He always struggles with foul trouble as is. So having him play the 5, he struggled even more with that. So moving to the 4 would certainly be a better fit. We had a number of trades throughout the day, which is just going to, we ranted and raved. We don't want to sound too whiny about it during the show today, but it's going to make the second round. It's already confusing as is, but certainly coming into it with a day's rest, so to speak. But first of all, we had AJ Griffin from the Atlanta Hawks being traded to the Houston Rockets for the 44th pick in this draft. He was a first-round pick out of Duke. And AJ Griffin, if I remember correctly from when we did this show a couple of years ago, this was a guy who sort of had like a mixed sort of profile. There were some questions about whether he'd succeed in the NBA at a high level in Atlanta. It never really materialized there. Houston Rockets now get another talented guy. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I know this is obviously somebody you scouted a couple of years back.
Just add to the list of guys that they have now. I mean, listen, I was saying it last night. I mean, Houston, to me, in the next year or so, they're going to be scary good. Like I get that feeling where like this, just to give you an idea, the amount of talented guys that they are pulling into this organization: Jalen Green, Reed Shepherd, who they took last night, Jabari Smith, Alperen Şengün, Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason. You add AJ
with
Griffin
Van
to that list. Fred VanVleet is the veteran presence that you add in there. Like the amount of young, really good players that are, and it spreads out. It's not like they have like a surplus of a certain position. Like, no, this is pretty evened out. This is pretty balanced. So, I mean, it just add to the list, man. AJ Griffin can really shoot it. So, now you got, look, you had AJ Griffin, who shot nearly 50%, hit 50% of his threes at Duke when he played in college. Now you have Reed Shepherd, who hit over 50% of his threes in his, I think it's clear what they're trying to do over there. So it kind of makes sense, don't it?
It's a little Boston Celtics-ish, if I may. Like, obviously, you sort of, again, he's younger, but, Al Horford 8 years ago was kind of like the veteran presence when the Celtics brought him in from the Atlanta Hawks, and it was sort of the guy who had been there and done that, hadn't won a championship yet, but had been on deep playoff runs, could kind of mentor some of these young guys. VanVleet has a championship on his resume, so maybe he could mentor these guys as well. And, again, sort of you allude to AJ Griffin, to Reed Shepherd as it pertains to their three-point shooting in college and how that translates in the NBA. It does feel, listen, we know not just the NBA, but sports, it's a copycat business, right? Like when a team wins a championship, okay, how'd they do it? How can we mirror that? And you have some teams, again, the Minnesota Timberwolves a couple of years ago, the Cavs, your Cavs, you're kind of going a different route, but a lot of teams are going to try and copy Boston, do it with we don't need a top 5, a clear-cut top 5, top 3 guy in the league, but a fringe top 5 guy, certainly top 10, a top 15 co-star, top 10 co-star, and just load them with really good B-plus ancillary pieces and kind of do it by committee, i.e. San Antonio Spurs toward the end of their run. And so, listen, that's what Houston's trying to do. It's a formula that's worked before. But we also had another trade. Sacramento, I was talking to you about this before the show started. Sacramento trades Davion Mitchell and Sasha Vezenkov, if I could speak today, to the Toronto Raptors, sources tell ESPN, and the Raptors are including Jalen McDaniels to the Kings in that deal, and so the Kings are going to send the Raptors the 45th pick in this second round of the draft. So any thoughts on that? Because I know you mentioned, given who Sacramento had taken, it kind of makes sense for them to move off of Davion Mitchell.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. I mean, Davion Mitchell, even when they drafted Davion Mitchell, I thought it was kind of an odd fit. just kind of throwing him in. And they drafted him while Tyrese Halliburton was still there as well. So this was kind of a weird deal with De'Aaron Fox, Halliburton. Then you added Mitchell to that mix. It was just like there's no real room for him to grow there. So I think Davion Mitchell has a solid shot there in Toronto. I think he's going to have more of a fair NBA shot over there in Toronto. So I think it kind of makes sense. And again, Sacramento is now in a different position where they're going to start. They drafted Devin Carter last night, who's similar to Davion Mitchell, right? Davion Mitchell was a little bit more of a polished shooter when it came out, but Devin Carter is a relentless defensive sort of player who can get his teammates involved. He's a good ball handler, but he's not really a refined shooter. So that's something they're really going to have to aim for. So, yeah, now it makes sense for Sacramento. And I really hope that Davion Mitchell gets a legitimate shot in Toronto, because it just never seemed like he had the room to really develop with the Kings.
Yeah, it didn't. And by the way, we also have, because I do agree with your point, like it was an odd feel. Like he was, I remember the series where they played my Warriors in the first round. They would just sort of send him out, like basically match his minutes off the bench with Steph Curry, and then you have to get De'Aaron Fox the basketball. It was an odd fit. And listen, if there's one thing we know about Sacramento in the draft, they love taking guards. Like they're just going to guard after guard after guard, and it is a little, from a fit standpoint, odd, because again, we talk about Mike Brown, and the Kings were, I think, the best offense in the NBA a couple of years ago, but Mike Brown's a defensive guy, and so like, are they going to try and sort of, certainly not rebuild, but sort of restructure that culture again by moving off Tyrese Halliburton in favor of Domantas Sabonis a couple of years back, obviously, to help spearhead that really successful season last year. Only time will tell, but we'll see. We also do have a couple of, also, I almost forgot to mention, what other trades? So Minnesota has traded Wendell Moore and the 37th pick to Detroit, so you have that component on it as well. You also have Detroit is sending the 53rd pick to the Timberwolves. Yep. And Oklahoma City traded Lindy Walters III to my Warriors for the 52nd pick. So thus far, it doesn't look like my Warriors will have a selection in this NBA draft. We've also had a number of free agent news. So Eric Gordon is going to decline his $3.4 million player option for this upcoming season, so he's going to be a free agent. Eric Gordon's obviously a tremendous perimeter shooter, has been on some really successful regular season teams. We'll see where he decides to go. And we also had, if we could pull this up here, Jamal Murray signing a 4-year, $209 million max extension with the Denver Nuggets. And more Nuggets news, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, KCP, declined his $15.4 million player option for the 2024-25 season to become a free agent. Looking at some of these deals, and it's weird that my brain goes here, Mike, but it further sort of emphasizes how well the Knicks did in acquiring Mikal Bridges when they acquired him.
Yep.
And how they're going to, again, like him and Jalen Brunson, he and Jalen Brunson won't be big cap hits for them next season. Obviously, OG Anunoby will and Julius Randle will, but I'm telling you, it's really, I cannot emphasize enough how impressive because I kind of I really liked the Mikal Bridges move. I thought it made them better, but I'm like, God, 5 first rounder, that's a lot. But them keeping OG to me is a total game changer. And I think I saw the Vegas odds that the Knicks are tied with the second best odds to win the title. So clearly Vegas loves this. Clearly the NBA betting public loves this, but man, kudos. We're seeing where the NBA salaries are going. Kudos to the Knicks for making it happen when they made it happen, because they kind of finagled the system to a degree.
They did. I listen, I'm excited to watch the next year, because I just think that, I had fun watching them this past year. Right. And I'm not a Knicks fan. I live in New York, but I am not a Knicks fan by any stretch of the imagination, but they are really kind of gearing up to go against Boston, right? Like they're really kind of taking, okay, we need strong defensive versatile wings to go up against the Celtics going forward, right? OG, Mikal Bridges, guys like that. I mean, they've really kind of bought in to this whole new system that they want to run. It's a really fun watch there in New York. And I really, hope that they can kind of like keep the momentum with this, because when the Knicks are good, I think the NBA is better as a whole. So I think, kudos to them. They've made a lot of really nice moves.
They have, and we talked about Leon Rose last night, the job he's done. He took over this team when they were they'd just come off of losing out on KD and Kyrie to the darn Nets across the street in New York. Yep. So you have that. We were going right into the pandemic. So the country, it looks like we got Mr. Smiles, Mark Tatum on stage. So it looks like the second round is is about to begin. So
Yeah.
it
So
feels weird.
how is it that this works? These kids get screwed where they don't get their name called up on the stage or anything like that. They get called up in the ESPN studio. That's so silly. Boy, did the NBA botch this. What a joke.
I'm kind of with you. Yeah, they're kind of it almost looks like almost like a banquet more than it looks like
Yeah.
it's almost it reminds me a little bit with it's like the Emmys without an audience, like where you see these celebrities and these nominees at like tables. It doesn't feel like
Yeah.
it doesn't have the gravitas of the Oscars. That's kind of what it
It
feels
looks
like. It's
like
kind of
the COVID draft.
it kind of
Like,
does, yeah.
It's so silly. It really is.
Yeah, let's. By the way, Toronto's officially on the clock, so we can go and put Toronto Raptors on the clock, so we can go ahead and get into what they want to do here. So, listen, Toronto has plenty of needs. There's no question about that. They're going to try to build around Scotty Barnes. Where do you think they go here with this first pick of the second round, Mike?
Well, they did well when they took Jacoby Walter last night, right underneath my calves, by the way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They can go in a few different directions. I would love to see them go grab a forward. Somebody along the one of these like combo forward kind of guys. Somebody along the 6'9" athletic kind of range. I would love I think Tyler Smith out of the G League is a really, really great fit for them. Really solid shooter, good athlete, left-handed stroke. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to go with somebody like that. Maybe somebody like Bobby Clintman, but you never know. I mean, the second round is always, really kind of sporadic. So we'll see what they do here. But like I said, if I were them, I'd really try to dip into a forward pool. So yeah, we'll see.
Jonathan Mogbo's who you had mocked to Toronto at number 31. I assume that no trades happened. I think they did have the 31st pick coming into that mock draft.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So no moves. Do you still think that's a possibility?
I do. I mean, Jonathan Mogbo is my number 48 player at the moment. He big time athlete, super defensive. Like run all over the floor, always on top of the ball. He's like, that's who Jonathan Mogbo is. I mean, you could probably even throw him at center if you really wanted to, even though he's a little undersized. He's only like 6'6", 6'7", but he plays a lot like a center. So yeah, that's still a possibility. I just think at this point, like you still have some players on the board that, are of like an upper caliber than a player like Mogbo. So you never know. It really kind of depends on what Toronto prioritizes here. They've gotten some 3-point shooting last night with Walter. So we'll see. Maybe they go for something a little bit different, some more athleticism, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, it could be a good fit for them. And also, sort of, again, they're showing the best available on ESPN. Johnny Furphy was a guy I think we were surprised that fell to the second round. Like that was, where'd you have? I think you have Furphy pretty high on your big board.
35. So not that high. I'm a little lower on Furphy than most people. I think, and I'll get into more of it when he comes around and gets drafted. But Johnny Furphy is a very interesting kind of player because he gets touted as such a big shooter. And he didn't shoot poorly at Kansas last year, but he definitely did not shoot to the level of which I think most people expected. So I think there's still a little bit to prove with him. But again, we'll see.
Yeah, and also too, something else to keep your eye out for as far as our audience is concerned. The Raptors pick is officially in here with only 45 seconds to spare. I will say, and I can't tell you how much I am pulling for you to be able to essentially go perfect. And the audience may be asking, well, what do you mean, Bryson? Well, Mike Guido has been doing 2017 was your first draft you scouted. Am I correct?
What's that?
2017 was your first draft?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And you've been doing draft shows alongside me, and Barry's been with us before since 2021. You have yet to, in that span, every single player that gets drafted, you have a draft profile on them. You've scouted them. You've ranked them on some sort of big board. And so as we get later into the late 40s, into the early 50s, that's when we be kind of nervous for your sake, because I really want you to pull this off, and that this will be a big time accomplishment for you, and I think for the Gryd Network as a whole.
Yeah, I almost don't want to get it. I want to get it out of the way early so that my heartbreak can settle in early and I can just kind of coast the rest of the way. So
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it does make it almost stressful, but in a positive sense, once you're able to get that monkey off your back, it's like, okay, there's nothing to worry about now. So I was about to say it's weird to say. I was about to say the commissioner's about to make his way to the board, but it's going to be the deputy commissioner, Mark Tatum, who I have a special affinity for because he did actually, when Adam Silver had COVID in 2022, he announced the Warriors title, gave the trophy out to the Warriors. Here's the pick. Jonathan Mogbo.
Yeah, there you go. So Jonathan Mogbo is big time defensive monster, just a versatile defender. He's a really gifted rebounder. He averaged like 10 rebounds a game last year at San Francisco. So borderline elite athlete. He's got good eyes. He's never going to be a shooter, but as far as like a versatile defender, that's exactly what he is. ESPN has him listed as a center. I have him listed more as like a power forward kind of player. But like I said, 6'7", 225. You could play him at kind of like a small ball 5, a regular 4. He's just going to come in and be a defensive stopper, I think, for the Raptors. So it's a solid pick here. And my number 48 player reminds me a lot of Kenneth Faried.
Okay.
When Kenneth Faried came in.
So kind of a good effort guy. So sort of a, scrappy dude.
Yep.
For sure. No, that works. And that's also, by the way, it should be noted, we can go in and try and get this on the screen as fast as we can, but this will move up your, we talked about doing like a Mike Guido mock draft accuracy. Yes. So if we can pull up the graphic here as soon as possible, because I think I just was able to get it across. And let's see if we can, because I would say if you could get to like
first pick of the second, I don't get the first pick of the first round right, but I get the first pick of the second round right. How about that?
I was gonna say that's an odd little turnaround there. Okay, so here we go. Your percentage went from 3.2 to 6.5. So it's better than nothing, but there's still a little frowny face. So it could be better. That is really interesting. First pick of the second round, you were spot on in first. Which in your defense, that was something that was the topic of much discussion coming in this draft, and I think Vegas sort of trended in the direction that it ended up going in, but at the same time, was highly debated upon. Now, Utah Jazz are on the clock. They got about 2 minutes to make their selection. What do you think they go here?
It really is kind of tough to say. Second round is so tough. But listen, they took a gamble yesterday in the first round with Cody Williams. Then they locked up a point guard spot with Isaiah Collier. So they've had a nice draft so far. So it'll be interesting to see where they go here. Maybe they go with a big. Filipowski is still on the board. That could be a direction that they go in. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it kind of depends on, like I said, it depends on what they prioritize, who's left on their board. So again, we'll see here. It'll be interesting.
And if they go Filipowski, what do you think that means for Lauri Markkanen's future? Do you think, because there's some rumors that they could decide to shop him? We know Danny Ainge, if there's anything that man loves, it's draft picks. And he likes to stock them in excess. Do you think this threatens the future of Markkanen in Utah?
Probably not. I mean, I think their future with Markkanen is probably separated from the draft almost altogether.
Okay.
So again, we'll see what their future holds, but if they do go for somebody like Filipowski, I think I do think it's a good fit. I really do. Just give him another kind of stretch big, 7 foot. He can shoot. Smart player. I think there's some upside there with him as well.
Yeah, there is, and he's obviously, we understand his pedigree at Duke. It's rarely ever a bad bet to go with the Blue Devils. So we'll see if they're able to make that happen, or if they were to take maybe a guard like a Furphy that was somewhat earlier that's still on the board for them. You mentioned you like the Tyler Kolek kid potentially early on in the second round.
Yeah.
So that would be a good pick as well. But again, Utah's one of those organizations where they tend to rebuild pretty quickly. Like they're not one of these Detroit organizations that's just in basketball hell forever, where they tend to get themselves up off the map pretty quickly, accumulate draft picks, and be able to hit on those draft picks and develop talent very well. So again, one of these high upside guys potentially in the second round. Again, we'll see if they were to go with one of these guys that slipped like a Furphy or Filipowski, but maybe going with more high upside in this situation of draft. Because again, high second round pick is like the equivalent of like a fourth round pick in the NFL. And we've seen plenty of those pan out. So here's the chimes and here's the pick. Filipowski. They go Filipowski here at number 32 in Utah.
That's a great pick. That's really great value for me.
Yep.
Really great value. Kyle Filipowski is the number 14 player on my board. I'm really surprised that people weren't higher on him. But listen, look, consensus All-American, 2-time All-ACC. He was the ACC Rookie of the Year. Like, he's a solid player. 7 foot, 230. He can really, really shoot it as a big guy. He's got a special, I guess, like knack for passing. Really exceptional playmaker, shows potential to bring the ball up. He can lead an offense. Like I said yesterday, he can kind of be a playmaking hub for a team from the elbows. So I think there definitely is some upside there. He's a really good athlete, runs the floor really well, puts a lot of effort on defense. He's not a very strong kid. He doesn't really finish through contact all that well at the moment, but like I said, if he fills out a little bit more, 16.5 points a game, 8.5 rebounds. He was obviously productive at Duke. So, I think it's a good value pick here. Early in the second round, you get somebody who I had in the lottery. This is really solid player, highly skilled kind of player. Alperen Şengün was the comp for me. So I think they've got a really nice player on their hands right here.
They could potentially. We do have a comment from our resident Duke fan, Barry Grint Jr. He says, they said his interviews were bad and his workouts were unimpressive. So that might have hurt his draft stock there. So that's interesting. He doesn't seem like a kid that, given from what I've seen from him, that would not bomb an interview, but would kind of struggle in that situation.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wouldn't have guessed, but listen, I don't know the kid personally. Maybe he doesn't interview well. I mean, it does happen. So, well, you never know. That's the way it is sometimes.
Yep. For sure. Milwaukee Bucks on the board. They made, again, the A.J. Johnson pick was one I think that surprised a lot of people. Again, it was like the classic. You ever seen the movie? It's probably the first basketball movie I ever watched as a kid. It was called Thunderstruck with Kevin Durant in it back when he played for the OKC.
Yeah.
You ever seen that movie?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. You remember that scene? Obviously when Katie in the high school are like switch powers, or whatever, but they bring the kid out of the stand to hit a half court shot. That's what it felt like a little bit. Like, hey, get out of the stands. You're a Milwaukee Buck now. Like it was kind of a somewhat bizarre. It was like, oh, let's bring the guy who's sitting in the Barclays Center to be the newest member of the Milwaukee Bucks. But under 2 minutes to make this selection. Again, the fact that they are, as a part of the reason what made it so bizarre, if they were a Boston Celtics where their resume is intact, they don't have to worry about, nobody's losing their job next year. Like the coach, the roster, everything is set. Milwaukee, it's at bare minimum get to the finals, or people are going to likely get the boot. Obviously, Damian Lillard was getting up there in age, so that was a risky pick. Do you think they go more with a safer pick here at 33?
I would hope that they do. I mean, I think that they've kind of, reached on upside in the first round. I think they got to get sort of an immediate contributor here in the second round. 33 is not deep in the second round. They could still get, like I said, there's plenty of guys on the board that can really help them. So, I would go for somebody that would help you right now. You already gambled on upside. Now let's take the safe guy.
It's interesting to see sort of the reverse of that sort of mindset, going with that type of dude in the first round and seeing what they do in the second round. But listen, Milwaukee is a team that likely moves on from at least certainly one or both of their bigs in Portis and in Brook Lopez. I don't know if they're doing that to maybe both of those guys can shoot. So, that's not an issue as it pertains to floor spacing, giving Giannis that open lane. But wonder if they go with a sort of a different mindset again with Doc Rivers, this being his first draft as a member of the Bucks. They only have about 34 seconds to make the selection, so they're definitely taking this down to the wire. But
is it me, or is the second round kind of it's dragging a little bit longer than it has in previous years? They must be telling everybody, just like, listen, we got time to fill. We need you to bleed every second out of these second round picks.
12 seconds left. Okay, finally the pick is in. So with 12 seconds to spare, the Milwaukee Bucks officially make their selection. So and that's, wait for ESPN to come on, or sorry, wait for a Sports Center to come on, give them an opportunity to get prepped. But I'm so with you though. This is just weird. It doesn't feel right, man. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Day two.
I hate it. I hate it. I don't know why they did this. They dumbed it down so much.
They did. Yeah, they did. And that's, listen, and kudos to the NBA and other sports leagues for taking big risks. Maybe this works, maybe it doesn't. But the thing is, if their mindset, and this probably wasn't it as we wait for Mark Tatum to take the stage, but we have, or actually this isn't a stage, it's a podium. But this isn't a situation where this is the dead space for the NBA, like free agency's already passed. Like it'd be different if that was the case, kind of like the NFL free agency, then the draft. if this were July, it'd feel a little different. Like the NBA wants to extend its reach on the public as much as they can. That's really not the case. So I don't know. I don't know if this is part of the new CBA, if there's something they're going to continue to do in 2025 and beyond, but thus far it just doesn't feel quite the same.
Right. Ooh.
They really are dragging
I apologize for yawning. I am exhausted. I really am, dude.
It takes a lot out of you, man. I'm telling you. It's the draft is no joke.
I have had a long week.
Hopefully it pays off with you getting all these 60 picks. I am, honest to God, pulling like hell for you, man.
Yeah,
Seriously.
well, there's only 58. Again, these teams got to stop breaking the rules. This is really kind of getting annoying that, there's only 58 picks in the draft this year instead of the 60. It's too hard to keep track of. I don't like it. They should fix that, and they should fix the whole trades thing.
The trade thing is what really is
that
frustrating.
Needs to be nipped in the bud.
Mark Tatum making his way to the podium. You go Tyler Smith here at number 33.
Okay. I mean, I love Tyler Smith, the player, my number 15 overall player. He's one of my favorite players in the whole draft. Again, this is another one of those kind of upsidey kind of picks. I don't know that he's going to be ready to contribute right away, but 14.5 points a game last year in the G League, 5 rebounds. Listen, he looks like I wrote down in my notes for him. He looks a lot like a 2K my player, right? Like 6'10", 224, good athlete. Like he just has like the build of an NBA player. He looks like an NBA player. Good length. He has a really smooth left-handed stroke. He has a nice shot. Shot really well from behind the arc last season. He hasn't really shot all that well in the past, but last year he really did improve as a shooter. He's immediately going to be a lob threat. Really great above the rim athlete. I'm a big buyer into his defensive upside. I think he could translate into a really solid two-way player. He reminds me a lot of Josh Smith.
I like Josh Smith. Yeah,
old Atlanta Hawks player. So, like I said, I think there are some scouts that are skeptical about his shooting, but I think overall he's a really high upside kind of player. I don't know that he contributes right away. So they've taken 2 players here that might not contribute right off the bat. But I think we'd be talking a little bit differently about the Bucks draft if maybe they had taken Tyler Smith in the first and then took AJ Johnson here. Then I think we'd be saying, okay, like it maybe looks a little bit different. But overall, not a terrible pick. But again, they're kind of taking risks here. And sometimes that's not really a bad thing.
No, it's not. And you were talking about his left-handed jumper, and the mechanics on it look really good. And they were showing sort of a side-by-side with him and Chris Bosh. Do you see any of the similarities there, especially when it comes to his size?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, him and Chris Bosh are similar as far as build is concerned. I think Tyler Smith is a little bit more filled out than Chris Bosh was, especially when, Chris Bosh early in his career. But I think Tyler Smith has that kind of upside. I think he's really, really a solid player. Just needs to be given the opportunity, and he needs to be coached right. So,
for sure. So Portland, is this? I need to go back and check because this is where it gets really frustrating to keep up with. So, is this Portland's pick?
As of right now, I believe it is. Yes.
Could have sworn they made it because there's been a bunch of trades today that Woj has been all over.
I believe Portland still has this pick.
Okay, so Portland back on the clock. They've seemed to be pretty active during this NBA draft. Again, making some really interesting moves. Talk about their draft thus far and what you think about it.
Yeah, Portland. I got to remind myself. So Portland, they took Donovan Clingan, and then they made that trade with Washington. So I'm interested about what what their plan is with Clingan and what they want to do with DeAndre Ayton. So I'm kind of interested to see that. But Donovan Clingan was my number 7 overall player. I mean, he's probably the best defensive center in the draft. He's such a great interior presence. So again, I don't know that I can complain about what Portland's done so far.
A little, almost like a couple steps behind Houston in the sense that they seem like they're just kind of trying to accumulate talent and then see what what they want to do from there. Because the thing is, if they were to move off in a perfect world, what Portland would love to happen is they move off DeAndre Ayton, that contract's off the books. They've obviously already moved off of Dame a couple years ago, CJ. And some of these guys, Shaden Sharp, Anthony Simon, Scoot Henderson, pan out under Chauncey Billups or under somebody else potentially. And now they have a ton of cap space because Portland's never been a free agent destination, but maybe they could, make a move for maybe a Giannis in a couple of years, maybe something like that. So
right.
That would be for small market teams, that seems to kind of be the plan. Obviously, we know building through the draft, that's kind of how you have to do it. But
so I just got a report from Shams. Portland is trading the 34th pick to New York.
New York's got the
Knicks.
pick. Okay.
So the Knicks are making this pick.
Okay.
And I actually know who the pick is, but I'm not going to spoil it because it came in the same tweet. So
yeah, that's
I hate to kind of, be the bearer of spoiled news, but that's just kind of the business we're in. That's what the NBA draft does. Woj is worse. That's that like Woj.
Oh, I don't know. Schefter's just as bad, Mike.
They are both terrible when it comes to just spoiling picks. Man, we get it. You're good at your job. You don't have nothing to prove anymore. By the way, if this is the Knicks pick here, it's a phenomenal pick. Phenomenal pick.
It is.
You know it?
I do know it, yes.
Yeah, it's
really
such a great pick. Yeah, there it is right there.
Okay.
It just came through on my stream. Yep.
Okay, so there you go. Tyler Kolek goes to the New York Knicks here. You really like this kid a lot, Mike.
I am big on him. He was my number 12 overall player. Listen, I think, like I said, crapshoot of a draft. I had 3 top 15 players remaining after the first round. Tyler Kolek was the best player on my board left. Reminds me a lot of Goran Dragic, NCAA All-Region. He was a consensus All-American. He won Big East Player of the Year. Like, he's a well-decorated player. One of my favorite players the whole draft. Every time you watch him play, you just kind of see it, right? Like, he just has like that he plays with that style of just like, this guy knows how to win. And it's kind of funny because you can almost envision him playing at Villanova. He kind of reminds you of like a smaller Villanova point guard. He's maybe the best passer in the entire draft. Like, he just has such a knack for delivering the ball on time, on target. He's really a gifted passer. He's just got some it factor. He's a knockdown 3-point shooter when he's given a little bit of space. He's not a great athlete, and he's going to get targeted on defense. But if we're being honest about this, they're going to draft him to be a spot-up shooter, kind of a spark plug passer. I think that makes a whole ton of sense. He backs up Jalen Brunson. He's a lefty just like Jalen Brunson. I'm big into this pick. Tyler Kolek's a really great fit here for the Knicks. Really great fit.
Yeah, he is. I do see the Villanova in him when they show the tape. That does
right.
There's certain programs that have a not an identity, but like you look at them, I could see them playing there. And the Knicks, obviously, the Nova Knicks is what they're becoming known as now. And so you think at this point, listen, the Knicks fans were, to put it mildly, a little underwhelmed by their first round pick. I think they'll be, I would imagine, pretty excited with this one. So
Tyler Kolek and Pacom Dadier is a really solid draft. That's a really, really solid draft. I know that Knicks fans are kind of scarred by the amount of like foreign players they seem to run into. Yeah, but that's a solid draft. That's a really solid draft.
It is. San Antonio on the clock now at number 35. This is their pick, and that's that's gonna be a recurring theme throughout this second round, like kind of trying to clarify whose pick is whose. This is San Antonio's pick, and it does say that the pick is in for them. Who do you think they go with here? Because again, right now, just rebuilding, accumulating talent around Wemby.
So here we go. Shams again. This pick is going to Indiana.
Indiana's pick.
So 35, this pick coming up right now is going to Indiana from San Antonio. So
okay. So let's see.
Let's see who we got here. We're getting a selection now.
Okay. Chimes aren't going to come in. I didn't get them off in time. Here we go.
Yes.
It sucks. It's fast paced.
You can only do so much.
Johnny Furphy goes to the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, solid pick here. Number 35 overall player. Reminds me a little bit of Sam Decker. If you remember Sam Decker, Bryson.
Yes.
I know,
yes.
Wisconsin player.
Yep.
9 points a game. This is really, where I was a little bit skeptical on him. Fairly polished player, especially in the offensive end. He's got some solid scoring upside. He really kind of, relies on his perimeter shooting. He's a terrific off-ball mover. He finds space in the offense, which is really impressive for his for his ability. Solid playmaker. He's got some low assist numbers, but the ball doesn't stick to his hands. Really good off-ball mover. The effort is there for him on the defensive end, but he really just kind of struggles on that end. Faster players really kind of give him some fits. He was exposed a few times last season as a defender, and he doesn't really play with a ton of physicality. I think he's going to come into the NBA and virtually just be a shooter. So that's really what I think you're getting out of him. 6'9", 202. And again, this pick looks like Sham said it's going to Indiana. I know they're showing it for the Spurs here, but I think it's going to Indiana right now.
It is. Yeah, actually, the Spurs are on the clock right now. This next pick, which says Pacers, is actually the Spurs. So, okay, so the Spurs are now fishing the clock. We were just discussing what they should do, and now Furphy off the board. Where do you think San Antonio decides to go here? Because the pick is in.
They took Stephon Castle. I mean, look, I would not be opposed to just finding some more shooting. Like, I think that, at this point, you got to find guys that are going to contribute right away. I think you're kind of past the point of seeing guys with tons and tons of upside. Just find some contributors. Go find some shooting. That's what I would do.
Real quick, this is on the Tyler Kolek pick. This is from Woj, that the Knicks are sending the Blazers' future second-round picks for Tyler Kolek, and it says they could be moving number 38 too. So a couple of picks from now, that could be going to the Portland Trailblazers, it looks like.
Okay.
So Portland could be moving to 30. So the Knicks have been very, very active in the trade market in the draft.
They really have, and they have been for the past several years. I mean, that's really kind of become a theme for them as well. So interesting to see that they're continuing to do that again.
Wonder what their strategy is with this. Just again, you would think trying to build more depth, obviously, because it's given the salaries of Brunson and of Mikal Bridges that they kind of have this 2-year window where this is going to be the only opportunity they have to have all of these guys together at the same time.
Right.
And trying to stack young talent, but interested to see what they're wanting to do here. See, again, there's I know I apologize to the audience because Mike and I seem like we're beating a dead horse, but like they're showing Pascal Siakam, Pacers highlights, and Halliburton. It's like, this isn't the Pacers pick, guys.
This isn't even the Pacers pick.
Show the Wemby stuff. Come on.
Yeah, seriously.
Here comes Mark Tatum. San Antonio Spurs at 36.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Juan Nunez, 6'4", 206, another point guard. So they've gone with 2 point guards here in the draft. Again, he played for Ratio Farm Ulm again last year in the Euro Cup. Gifted passer. He's really kind of one of these nifty highlight real passers. Spanish kid, really solid defender. He has a knack for creating steals. Averaged almost 2 steals a game last year in Euro Cup. So does a nice job on the defensive end, but his specialty is as a playmaker. This guy can really pass. He's actually a fairly decent finisher at the rim. He has some high rising layups. He does a lot of those like finish high off the glass sort of plays. He's unbelievably creative when it comes to just like, finding ways to put himself in a position to succeed. That's why a lot of people love him. He was my number 53 overall player. Reminds me a lot of Ricky Rubio. So again, we'll see how he progresses. I'm not really sold on him as a shooter at the moment, but not a bad player here. Again, he's going to San Antonio. That's kind of the players that they like. So it makes sense.
It does make sense. And again, if there's one thing with San Antonio, and it feels like the modern sort of NBA style of the draft and the modern NBA with all this incredible European talent and worldwide talent coming to the NBA, it does feel like it plays right into the San Antonio Spurs' hands because they have had, I think, far and away the best international scouting department in the NBA. So, this in that respect, it does make sense for them.
Yeah.
But okay, so this is not okay. So I almost got this graphic wrong. So this is not Minnesota's pick. It says proposed trade to the Detroit Pistons. I guess it's one of the trades that was made earlier. So Detroit is now on the clock at 37 with a couple of minutes to make their selection. Again, we are very much into BPA territory right now at the second round. So especially with a team like Detroit that just needs to get some good players in the building. What do you think? What are some of the options now for the Pistons?
Ron Holland is what they went with earlier on. So, listen, like, I mean, I'll probably keep saying it till I'm blue in the face here, Bryson, but shooting. I mean, that's really what you're going to find a lot of in this draft. So go and grab some shooters. It's going to be a free for all for shooters, I think. So, I think that's what they should do, really. Shams looks like he just said the Pacers sent cash to this. I guess it was number 36 and cash to the Spurs for the 35 pick where they took Furphy. I guess that's really what we're looking at here.
Okay. Seems like say it again. So San Antonio gets cash, or San Antonio sending cash?
San Antonio. Okay, so the Pacers sent 36 and cash for 35.
For 35, which
ended up being Furphy. And then San Antonio took Nunez at 36.
Feels pretty evenly matched, because I like both prospects. I think I like Furphy a little bit more than you, but I understand, your sort of your take on him. But
yeah,
that's a fair trade all the way around. Listen, this isn't the Spurs. One thing I will say, and I thought Jay Billis had a great quote about this yesterday when he was on with SVP. He said, I think we're underestimating the Spurs' ability to scout 12-year-olds in 31 first-round picks in the trade with Minnesota. So that was a listen. If there's an organization that can do it, it's San Antonio. It's Oklahoma City. I mean, Oklahoma City still has a plethora of picks.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that real? Like, I find that hysterical. Rob Dillingham just got traded for like a handful of sixth graders. Like, isn't that hysterical?
It really is.
That is really, like, when you put it into perspective, like, that is so funny to me.
It is. By the way, we have another trade announcement. So the Knicks, we talked about earlier, like they were trying to shop this 38th pick. It's going to Oklahoma City. So they made the deal. This is according to Woj. They've sent 38 to Oklahoma City. We'll see what the terms of that exchange is. But
Oklahoma City took one of their picks yesterday. So
yeah.
They have a working relationship, New York and Oklahoma City. There's some insider trading, I think.
Evidently
going
so.
on over there.
Evidently so. No, that's really interesting. Yeah, for sure. So,
man.
So Oklahoma City is going to be up, and then Memphis. So Minnesota's got the pick right now. I'm sorry. See the Timberwolves logo. Detroit's pick is in at number 37. And again, like you said, shooting feels like
they got to fix this. This is silly. Silly. It really is. This is silly. How do they watch this? How does the NBA watch this happen every year? And they're just like, okay, yeah, this is fine. Like, no, it's not fine. It's terrible.
Mike, the only thing I think that could be the only semi-justifiable reason for this is the only people who are watching the second round are draft nuts like you and me. And so maybe we won't really mind it. Or maybe they're assuming that we'll not struggle in keeping pace with it when it's quite difficult to keep pace of. Here's the pick, by the way, by the pick.
Yeah. Yeah, this is solid. Bobby Klintman going to Detroit here. It's a very Detroitian kind of pick. You can kind of see it. He's another 6'10 sort of athlete player, extremely high upside as a two-way player. Solid athlete for his size. He thrives getting out in transition. It's not often that you really see players that of his size with his kind of ball handle. Like, this guy can really move well with the basketball in his hands. He's locked down upside as a defender. He's a thin kid. I think he's probably a couple of years away from really contributing at a high level. But for a team like Detroit, I think that's fair. Shot the three ball fairly well last year, 35.7% for the Cairns Taipans last year in the NBL. So again, he went to the NBL. He declared for the draft last year out of Wake Forest, decided to play in the NBL this year, became a better prospect. He reminds me a lot of Trevor Ariza. So really solid player in Bobby Klintman. So this is a good pick here for the Pistons.
Yeah, it is. And where did you say you had him on your board?
25.
Okay, so good value here. Good value.
Yeah, very.
Okay, so proposed trade here. This is going to be Oklahoma City's pick, as you sort of made the astute point about this sort of switcheroo with Oklahoma City and the Knicks, just swapping picks back and forth over the last 10, 15 picks or so. So really interesting thing going on here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Two teams that, who knows, maybe, I mean, in a crazy world, maybe these two teams meet in the finals. You never know if they were to both go on deep runs. But so Oklahoma City on the clock, and let me check who they've drafted. Who have they taken thus far, Guido?
So Oklahoma City is sitting on Nikola Topic and Dylan Jones in the first round. So two picks that I got to be honest, Oklahoma. I'm not really a huge fan of what Oklahoma City has done in this one, but listen, they've proved me wrong before. I love Topic as a player. I didn't love the fit with him on that roster. And then Dylan Jones, I had ranked in the 50s. So I thought that was a bit of a reach in the first round. So I'm interested to see where they go here. I don't know. I don't know. if it's up to them, they're going to break my streak, right? I mean, man.
I hope that doesn't happen for your sake. But listen, Oklahoma City, we know Sam Presti is one of the best general managers and talent accumulators in all basketball. And again, going back to, of course, the Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden picks in back-to-back years. So, and obviously we understand what they put around Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who, fun fact, and again, it feels weird that I'm, okay, real quick, the Knicks get cash from Oklahoma City for pick number 38, but
just
cash.
The thing is, that's it.
That's it.
Man,
I don't know. It's easy for billionaire or for billionaire owners to say, for you and me, Mike. It's like,
boy, here's a cup of coffee. Let me get 38.
There you go.
I'll buy a steak dinner at the nicest restaurant in New York City if you give me 38.
Should I do that for over a player?
I always like find that hysterical. Like when they trade cash, what does that mean? Is that like, all right, Venmo me Venmo me $500 and I'll give you a pick? Like that's a pretty
more than that, Mike.
What's that?
I said it's got to be more than $500 for some of these organizations. What's the Oklahoma City Thunder going to use with $500? Come on.
I don't know.
The Knicks.
What are the Knicks going to do with $500? I don't know. They could probably, I don't know. They get those T-shirts that they give out at the stadium can't be more than whatever, $10 a piece.
I guess. Pig is in. I'm not gonna.
No, the T-shirt cannon ones, not the ones in the store. The T-shirt cannon ones.
Oh, right, those. Okay. AJ Mitchell, by the way, to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay, all right. So that's not a bad pick. That's actually pretty good value here, in my opinion. AJ Mitchell's a good player. He's kind of a combo guard. Really like him as like a playmaking, shot-making kind of player. He's a really crafty finisher at the rim. Can kind of contort his body and get into the lane really nicely. Terrific shot maker. He finds ways to put the ball in the basket. He's a 3-year starter at UC Santa Barbara. He's had a really nice career over there. Smart player, great court vision. They wonder, a lot of scouts wonder if his shooting development is actually for real. But listen, they said the same thing about Andrew Nembhard, and that's his comparison right here. I have Andrew Nembhard as a comp for AJ Mitchell. So this is a good pick here by OKC. It's probably my favorite pick that they've made so far from a value perspective. I love Topic. I was unsure about the fit. AJ Mitchell's a really nice player.
Listen, you were bad-mouthing Sam Preston. He's like, watch this, Mike Guido. We're going to get some good value here in the second round, number 38.
Yeah, we're going to take some kid from UC Santa Barbara. Watch out for us. Look who's coming. Go. Look out. Number 29 player on my board, by the way. I actually really liked AJ Mitchell coming out.
Wait a second. This has to be a typo.
What?
Shams says Oklahoma City sent number 40 pick and cash to the Knicks for AJ Mitchell. The Knicks are at 40 now. So wait, did Oklahoma... I must have missed something. So did Oklahoma City make a trade with Portland?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know anymore.
It doesn't say they did.
Oklahoma City sent number 40. Okay, so Oklahoma City must have made a trade with Portland to... Okay. So we are... Okay. So the Knicks now have 40. That's what we care about now.
Man,
right?
They've been active.
Yes, jeez Louise.
Really active.
This is making my head hurt. It really is. It's making my head hurt.
No, it's a lot. And so I'm going to see now. I'm just going to dig back through Woj's Twitter.
And now you have to kind of search for it.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was part of was that part of well, no, because I don't know.
Because
It's one of it's one of the cup of coffee deals.
I guess because it wouldn't have been a part of the deal with Golden State when they sent, or well, no, that's the Knicks. But wait a second.
Portland had the 40th pick.
Yep.
Portland had the 40th pick. So today, at some point, they must. I don't know. It must have been.
Maybe we missed it.
We must have. I'm still very
Lost.
Yes.
Okay, so whatever happened again? Maybe they just woke up in the middle of the night. Hey, said, hey, you want the 40th pick? Yeah, if you give me a couple $100 here, as you alluded to earlier, Mike. And
cup of coffee trade. Cup of coffee trade. That's it, man. That's all it is.
Start calling this. That's where we start calling this. So this for our for less confusion, this is Memphis's pick, ladies and gentlemen. So this is not one of the many picks we'll see beyond here. Once we get to like 56, it's going to be kind of brutal, given all the trades that have been made or that we're aware of and that we're not aware of. So nonetheless.
Yeah,
I'd say they're even too fast for these insiders. I can't even find it with Woj and Shams. That's when you know it's a little clunky.
Yeah. So Memphis, this is now Memphis's pick.
Yes.
Right. So Memphis is on the clock now. This was always their pick. So yes. 39, the pick that is happening right now, belongs to the Grizzlies.
Yep.
Let's just throw that out there, just so that our audience knows. This kid's
coming to Tennessee.
This kid is going to Memphis. He's going to be Bryson's new favorite player.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Because I'm a massive Grizzlies fan.
Massive Grizzlies fan. Go Grizz.
I'm telling you, I would have. Mike, honest to God, man. I really, when I woke up this morning, I obviously I didn't sleep that much because of last night. But when I woke up, it was connected and up. Honest to God, connected and end up a Laker. And I looked at my phone, I'm like, I'm sure it's gonna. No, he's a Laker. I swear to you, I woke up, I'm like, that didn't happen.
It couldn't have possibly happened.
Here's the pick by Memphis.
Yeah,
Washington State.
That's a good pick. Jalen Wells is a good player. Really can score. I mean, so he's a top flight shooter from all over the floor. I mean, he's really going to come off. I think he's going to come off the bench and really light some guys up. He played last year at Washington State. He played 2 years at Sonoma State. Bryson, the illustrious Sonoma State is where he.
Where would that be, Mike Guido?
Yeah, no kidding. But really wicked, quick, and his form is crisp on his jump shot. He's got a really nice jumper. Great quickness for his size. His handle is solid, and he uses it to create space for himself. He does have a little bit of shot creation upside. He's shown that he can be a decent defender. He gets a little sleepy on that end, but nothing too terrible. He's just not much of a finisher at the rim, so you can't really design plays for him inside. He's 6'8", 205. Reminds me a lot of Rodney Hood. He's a bit of a bigger Rodney Hood. So this is a good player. He should play a nice role for the Grizzlies. Yeah,
and you had him mocked to the 41st pick, which would have went to Philadelphia. So only a couple picks lower than what you had, or a couple picks higher rather than you'd anticipated. So yeah, solid pick here from Memphis. He fits what they're trying to do. And so this is, again, let's go back to the confusion now. So the ESPN graphic says it's Portland, but then it went to Oklahoma City. And now it belongs to the New York Knickerbockers. And so maybe it'll get moved again. I don't know. I'm not going to try and guess. I mean, I'm going to try and keep tabs on this, but this is not Portland's pick. This is the Knicks pick, even though it actually belonged to Oklahoma City up until 15 minutes ago. And then I don't know when Oklahoma City got it. Nonetheless, it's going to the Knicks as of now.
I can't wait for the Knicks to take another foreign kid and just for everybody, for all of Knicks Twitter to just blow up. Can't wait.
Yes, Alberto Peace is the great Knicks.
New York
You
Knicks.
haven't won a title since the Nixon administration. Like, let's slow down on this, okay? Let's relax.
Yeah. Yep.
70, was it 73? 71 or 73?
73. I think they won in 69 and 73.
Yep. It just goes, man, the branding of New York City, man, can do wonders for you. Ask the Mets.
Yeah. Well, I can't really say anything about the Mets right now. They just beat
you
the
can't.
hell out of the They just
No,
beat the
you
hell
can't.
out of the Yankees the last 2 days. So
Oh, for sure. Oh, see, and now Alberto P's getting defensive. Let us live. Okay, we'll back off. It's the second round of the NBA draft. We'll chill on you. No, that was, listen, Grimace has ignited a flame in the New York.
They've won 15 of their last 19.
I mean,
Bryson.
come on.
The Mets, here's the thing is, like, people are acting shocked that the Mets just like kicked the hell out of the Yankees over the last 2 days. I'm not. The Mets are on an extreme high and the Yankees are on an extreme low right now. So I'm not surprised at all. The Mets are playing really well and the Yankees are playing really bad.
Okay, so
are we trading again?
Well, here's the thing. Shams Charania just spelled the word Phoenix wrong. He spelled Phoenix incorrectly, so he'll delete the tweet. So this pick's actually going to the Suns now.
So 40 is now going to the Suns.
Wow, this is
how many times can you trade a pick?
This is torture on the graphics, man. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
So the pick is it was orange, so that works. So the pick is in for the Phoenix Suns. Okay, so Woj just reported the Knicks are trading number 40 to the Suns. Dear goodness. And by
I
the way,
will say the trade activity in the second round of the NBA draft is almost unlike anything ever. Like, it really does get there's a lot of stuff that happens.
No question. So Shams reports that the Knicks now have number 51 and 56. I would fall over backwards in this chair if the Knicks don't at least trade one of those, given their clear activity in the last 24 hours in this NBA draft, especially in the second round. So the pick is this pick is now going to Phoenix. It is not going to the Knicks.
This is okay. So final conclusion: this pick is going to the Phoenix Suns after being traded 17 times.
Okay. So yeah, Woj just okay. So I thought this was another update. I was like, oh my gosh, because I'm keeping Woj and Shams tabs. The great rivalry, the great insider rivalry continues with this. So again, the screen, I want to emphasize this, says the Portland's pick is in. This pick is not going, or I shouldn't say anywhere near Portland. It's going to the West Coast, but it isn't going to the Trailblazers. It's going to the Phoenix Suns, who are in a really interesting spot because they've been very, very wary on potentially trading Kevin Durant or Devin Booker. There's been a lot of news about that in the last couple of days. Any commentary on that? Do you think KD gets moved this offseason? Because I think they're kind of stuck in quicksand because they've made so many poor offseason decisions the last couple of years.
I don't think he gets moved. I mean, I think that was like a big rumor that just popped up, and I don't know. It kind of died the next day. Like, I'm not really that invested in it. So no, I don't really think he gets moved. I think they're kind of stuck where they are.
Yeah, you're probably right. See, the pick is in for the Suns. Let me get the kid's name on here. Okay. So I'm going to say this correctly. Ishtodaro?
Oso Ighodaro. Oso Ighodaro. So he was Tyler Kolek's most productive teammate at Marquette. 13.5 points a game, 7 rebounds, 6'9", 220. I think he profiles a little bit more as a 4 rather than a 5, even though I'm sure he's going to play some 5 in the NBA. He's a complementary piece, provides some great versatile defense and playmaking. He really is a solid defender. He provides a lot on the defensive end. He's a perfect pick and roll defender. He can switch onto guards. He can block shots fairly well. He blocked about a shot and a half per game last year at Marquette. He has some nice touch around the rim. He's not really a polished scorer. I don't know that he's going to score big in the NBA, and he's not a shooter. He really isn't a shooter. He really didn't take threes at Marquette, so he's not really a shooter. So Boris Diaw, though, Boris Diaw that doesn't really shoot is really the comparison for him. Defense playmaking is going to be his specialty in the NBA. So Phoenix is getting and I think he plays right away. I think this guy can fill some holes for them, play a little bit of a bench role. So this is a solid pick.
Well, they need that, especially we talked about earlier with he keeps saying Eric Gordon opting out of the last year of his contract. So they're going to need as much depth as they can put together there. So this next pick, as we know of right now, is Philly's pick. I don't think there's been any trades. Obviously, certainly what's been reported in the last couple of minutes, but I don't think there's been any trades as of late. So this is right now Philadelphia's pick. So let's see who's still on the board. So we've got
so my top, I'll give you my top 5 that are still available here. Nikola Jurisic, I think, is the best player left on the board. Serbian forward. Reminds me a lot of RJ Barrett. He does a lot of really nice things. Pretty good athlete. Pell Larson, I think, is somebody that you should look at as well. Shooting guard out of Arizona. I think he's the Christian Brown of this draft. I think he's going to he's going to go somewhere and he's going to make an impact, even if he goes undrafted. Kevin McCullough out of Kansas, I think, is on that board as well. Harrison Ingram, the combo forward from North Carolina, I think provided some really nice tape. And then Jamal Shed out of Houston, the point guard, I think
I like him a lot, Guido.
Big time defender. Big time defender. So I think that those are the top 5 available. They're all top 40 players, by the way. Like I said, total crapshoot of a draft. I've had 3 players drafted that I have in the 50s. So on this board. So it's been quite the night or quite the collection of nights so far. Really interesting stuff.
So the Sixers have about a minute and a half as we sit here right now to make their selection. Yeah, I think this has been in the 4 drafts we've done together, certainly the least predictable. I think so 2021, that was the Cade Cunningham draft. It was pretty consensus on who was going number 1. But obviously last year, that goes without saying. 2022 is kind of debate between 3 guys. Powell goes number 1. In this case, it was a debate between, I feel like 3 or 4 guys at one point. And then after that, kind of whoever gets picked dictates what that next team's going to do, because I think these guys were generally liked across the board. But very odd draft. So have you done any scouting for 2025? Is it going to be anything like this one?
I haven't. Okay. I would imagine that if all goes as planned, I would imagine that Cooper Flagg is going to be the top guy next year. But you never know. A lot of things change in a year, so you don't know.
Yeah. Listen, I remember Michael Porter Jr. was thought to be potentially the first pick in the 18 draft before his
injuries killed him. Yep. That was the thing. His injuries. Michael Porter Jr. was supposed to be the best player in that draft, but injuries derailed his draft stock mightily. So still ended up being a lottery pick though, and he's a pretty darn good NBA player.
No question. Philly's taking this thing down the wire, man. We're down to 7 seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
And still nothing. 3. Okay, so I'm sure they had to make their pick by now. Okay, there we go. The pick is in right as the clock hits 000. So there you go. And the beauty is this pick looks to be a Philadelphia 76ers pick. So the less confusion, the better. And so that's looks like what we're
just to give you an idea, just to kind of spoil myself. I've been spoiling the picks for myself just so I can keep track with trades. Because I don't want to say oh, this guy's such a great fit for this place, and then he ends up not going there, and I just wasted 3 minutes of breath because he's not going to the right place. So I'm spoiling myself, unfortunately, but I think that's just the world we live in.
You know what? I'll just then I will save you that work, Mike Guido. I will keep tabs on the trades, and I'll let you do the draft analysis because that's what you're good at. And I'm good at looking at my phone and saying what I see on my phone. That'll work. I'm good at reading a phone and saying it in a microphone. It takes great skill and great ability in this era we live in.
It does, Bryson. Don't underestimate yourself. It does. It's a rare skill set that not many people have.
You know what, man? I am just intrigued though by the Woj and Shams wars during the NBA offseason. It is truly something to say. And then you get these Chris Haynes, these people like that. Brian Windhorst obviously inserting their names into these insider back and forth. But I don't know, man. Shams and Woj is Duke in North Carolina for all I care.
Yeah.
Of course, it's interesting. It's almost Have you ever seen Star Wars, Mike?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I haven't seen them in years, so I don't remember
Okay.
anything about it. But
It's a little. Woj is like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Shams is like Darth Vader, right? Like Woj trained Shams and then Shams ends up, breaking away and ends up being the biggest rival to Woj. It's
yeah,
what it kind of reminds me of. So
yeah.
that I'm gonna call it here. Obi-Wan Woj, I guess, and Woji Wan. I don't know. We can come up with something.
Woji-Wan Kenobi.
Obi Woj Kenobi, something like that. And then Darth Shams, maybe. I don't know.
Darth Shams.
That hits. I don't know
Shams.
why that actually sounds.
That could have been a real Star Wars character, Darth
Yeah.
Shams.
Yeah. Adam Bona goes to the Sixers, the center out of UCLA here.
Yeah, and it's a good pick. Adem Bona is a terrifying defender out of UCLA. 6'10", 235. He's a true center. He's going to play center in the NBA. All Pac-12. He's two-time All Pac-12 defense. Really just a massive interior presence as a shot blocker. He blocked nearly 2 shots a game last year. Really switchable defender. I think he's going to thrive switching on pick and rolls. And he's a prototypical, like I said, pick and roll big man, right? Cuts hard to the rim. He finishes with authority. He dunks the ball really, really hard. Strong player. He does really well on the offensive glass. A good athlete. He's not a shooter, and there's a real good chance that he never will be a shooter. But a rim running center, I think that's something that you obviously can have. Finisher around the rim, lob threat, the whole deal. I'm sure you can picture the kind of player that he's going to be. Bismack Biyombo, just like kind of picture what Bismack Biyombo is in the NBA. I think Adem Bona is that kind of player. So that's the player that Philly's getting right here.
Yeah, spelled his name wrong. Let me do him justice. Adem Bona. So yeah, the thing is, so do you think he gets legit minutes behind Joel Embiid?
I think he could. Yeah, I mean, listen, he's a ready-to-play kind of guy. You know what I mean? And there's not much to him. He's rim running, defending, shot blocking, finishing at the rim, lob threat. That's his game. There's not much to develop. Just let him go out there and do his thing. He'll provide he will give you some production if you let him play to his strengths.
In a way, he almost seems to go against kind of the theme, what we said in the mold for what this draft was going to be, but there's still a lot of value. And like what you said, just big guys who can rim protect, who can run the floor. Like there's a lot of value, especially when you have a Joel Embiid who is injury prone, like a young guy, fresh legs. That does help Philadelphia. So I agree with you. I do think this is a good pick. So this next pick is Charlotte's. This does belong to the Hornets. So this is beautiful. Back-to-back picks that actually belong to the teams that they say they belong to.
How about that? Right. I actually really like what Philly has done. So far, Jared McCain and Adem Bona is a solid draft. That's really solid. You get a guard that can really shoot, and you get a rim running center in the second round. 2 fairly safe picks. Philly, I think Philly legitimately got better during this draft. Like that's a very good draft.
Listen, I think Philadelphia is, to me, because I think they're going to add Jimmy Butler feels likely, but certainly it feels like they're going to add another piece next to Embiid and Maxey in a roster that's already really, really good. With I believe to be a very good coach, Nick Nurse. Like this to me feels like kind of a 3-team sort of race to the finish line in the Eastern Conference right now. Because I don't buy into Milwaukee that much with Doc. I don't think the Giannis Dame fit works that well as great as Giannis is. Here's Charlotte's pick. KJ Simpson to the Hornets here.
Yeah, I like that. Undersized point guard, 6'1", 185. In the green room, or I guess in the studio, whatever the mockery of a green room that they've made in the ESPN studio. Nearly 20 points a game last year at Colorado, Bryson. He was a really solid player. Undersized guard. He's got some dog in him, though. He's plays really, really hard. His ability to create his own shot in multiple ways, especially moving off screens. I actually thought that there was a chance that he could have snuck into the first round for that reason. He's just a really nice shot creator. Traditional point guard, handles the ball well, does well passing the ball, averaged about five assists a game, about 6 rebounds a game last year at Colorado. Reminds me a lot of Jeff Teague, just like one of those kind of do-it-all point guards. Like he's just a solid overall player. Size will be an issue for him. I think his intensity on defense might not matter because he doesn't have great size or verticality. He doesn't have great hops or anything, but he plays with a ton of passion. He's not out of control. He's a good player. This is a solid pick for Charlotte.
Yeah, it is. Again, trying to accumulate as much talent, and he's a guy who kind of fits. He would be a nice sort of the Jeff T comparison works. He'd be a nice kind of backup kind of guard for LaMelo Ball because their games are somewhat similar in a way. LaMelo's a little bit more flashy, but there are some similarities there. By the way, Tyler Reddington was with us last night during the NBA draft. Did a great job, big time Mavs fan. We can go and bring him on now, right now. Tyler Reddington, back on the NBA draft live reaction show. Tyler, how you doing today, my man?
Hey, man, excited to hang out with y'all for another round, man. This is fun.
It's very fun, man. We appreciate you having you on. So right now with the Miami Heat on the clock, the pick is in for them. Do you have any immediate takeaways on, what we've seen? It could be first round, it could be second round, anything, immediate takeaways on what you've seen so far?
I mean, with Miami on the clock, Pat Riley, I mean, he's a mastermind when it comes to the draft. But what he was able to do with Jaime Jaquez, I mean, he can make a mountain out of a molehill. Don't be surprised if he makes a big move here. And it's somebody that you don't really know about that's going to come make an impact on the very first season.
Well, that's kind of what they do. I mean, we saw what they okay, this pick's going to the Hawks, actually.
Yeah. But they're making a trade.
Hawks, yep. And Miami's going to go right after this. So Miami is, which is really confusing because that says Houston. Oh, that's from the AJ Griffin trade, right?
That's the AJ Griffin trade, correct. Yep.
Okay,
AJ Griffin.
Okay, so that pick's been traded now from Houston to Atlanta. Now it belongs to Miami. So this pick coming up is actually the Hawks pick. And so the Heat will then pick after that. So there you go. And cash is involved in this. So again,
okay.
That's worth.
Trades booming. That's cool.
There's a lot of movement. It's
cool to watch. It's not cool to create graphics for it, but nonetheless. But you know what? Maybe, Mike, it's so. Listen, I know that people at ESPN are some of the best in the world at what they do, but maybe it's just so much work for the production crew. It's like we're just gonna leave it as is. We'll explain later. You can follow it on your Twitter feeds or something. But
yeah, but they don't even announce it when they make the pick. That's the thing, is it could get traded 3 times, but the original team that had the pick will still be the one making it. It's so silly.
It's confusing. So here's
Atlanta now.
Nikola Durasic to the Atlanta Hawks.
Love that.
Oh,
that's
wow.
A great
From
pick.
Serbia.
Nice.
Great pick. Nikola Durasic is a really solid player. Really, really solid. I'm big into Nikola Durasic. Number 22 player on my board. He was the best player available for me.
That's really good. I mean, he's a 6'7" wing. He's got some size. He's very physical, which is very good for Miami. Miami likes to play a physical brand of basketball, so he's immediately going to bring that in from Serbia. And I like it here too. They got Jovic, so they got some foreign guys now too, because Nikola Jovic, not Jokic, but Jovic. Yeah, he's doing really, really well. I mean, his development was a little slowed down last year, but another great draft pick by the Miami Heat.
Yeah, he played for Mega MIS in the ABA last year. A true master of none. He really doesn't have a specialty, but he isn't a liability anywhere, right? He's one of those players that, just like I said, does a little bit of everything. He shows some potential as a shot creator. He's a strong ball handler with a smooth jumper. The results on his shot have kind of, gone up and down throughout his career, but he gives you some defensive versatility. Again, his success in the NBA is really going to rely on whether or not his jump shot can translate. So, but if you're getting a translatable jump shot here, I think you're getting a very versatile player that, like I said, does a little bit of everything. Reminds me a lot of RJ Barrett. He's that kind of player for me. So this is really good value for me in the second round. Durasic is a good player.
Listen, Miami is kind of a little bit Atlanta Hawks. They're a little San Antonio Spurs East in the sense that they do a really good job of scouting, overseas talent. And so again, knowing what the league is now in that regard is, kind of fits what they're trying to do here. So, this next pick is Miami's pick. That was Atlanta's picks. I'm sorry. I was talking about the Miami Heat. And
so this is Atlanta. And Jurisic took Atlanta. Jurisic went to Atlanta. This pick coming up is going to Miami.
Okay.
right?
Yes,
Yes,
I think.
yes, no, maybe so.
Sort of. Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yes.
And this next pick, by the way, just to clarify, this is the next pick after this is from the Davion Mitchell trade. So this is going to the Raptors and not the Kings.
For now.
No. Yeah.
For now.
Very important clarification once we get to this stage of the draft.
Aye.
Because once we get to we're almost midway through the second round here. Once we basically are midway through it because it's 58 picks, right?
I've got 2 players left on the first page of my big board here, Bryson. 36 and 37. They're the last ones left. It's Pell Larson out of Arizona and Kevin McCullough Jr. out of Kansas.
Oh, wow.
The 2 players left on the first page. And then we are fully on to page 2.
So we get to pick basically, best case, I guess, pick 45 before we. So again, still pretty good value. Again, goes to what you were saying earlier, Mike, with this being sort of a crapshoot draft, kind of all over the place. You're a lot of listen. The second round's unpredictable to begin with, but certainly this year, given the sort of
I'll
vibe
tell you
of
this: the second round has had some order. The second round has had like like a lot of BPA stuff. You know what I mean? Like Filipowski, Tyler Smith, Tyler Kolek. Going back to back to back. I mean, those guys were fairly close on my big board. They were all top 15 players, and they went early in the second round. So there is some order happening here.
It's odd to think about it in sort of the reverse in that way. That's really interesting. So this pick's going to Miami, and then the next one to Toronto. So again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, Tyler, maybe I didn't hear you correctly, but did you have any sort of major takes on what's happened thus far with the draft? I don't know if your Mavs, they have a pick tonight?
They have 60.
They do.
The last pick of the draft goes to the Mavericks.
Little Isaiah Thomas went number 60, so.
And so, I mean, as far as yesterday, we all talked about how, 1 through 5, it wasn't a sexy draft, but you look at 1 through 30 and what was done, with Minnesota and what was done in the late half of that round with LA getting DK. I mean, it turned out to be a great first round for a lot of teams. And it turned out to be some fireworks there that I wasn't expecting. So, I mean, this is a great draft. In fact, they're doing it 2 days now. I could dig that. Another whole day of basketball and coverage. So, hey, I think it's great for the NBA. And I think so far this is an entertaining draft, despite the lack of star power.
Well, that's the thing too, and that's going to be kind of what we're going to see from from the NBA draft the next couple of years, or not next couple of years, but the foreseeable future, is the fact that because you have so much international talent, like a lot of folks just didn't see these guys play, like again, like a Reed Shepherd or a Dalton Connect or guys like that we saw play in college. We saw Zach Edey dominate the NCAA tournament, Klingon as well at UConn, Stephon Castle. So I think we're going to see that more as time goes on. It was already that way with one and done. But now when you have the international talent that's come over, it's going to become much more that way. Have they already made their selection? Because they've just moved on to Toronto.
Yes.
Okay, so we can go ahead and put this up. It's Pell Larson.
Yes, Pell Larson.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So good pick here. Best player available for me. Again, like I said, some order here. I said he was the Christian Brown of this draft. I think that's exactly what he is. 6'5", 208, 13 points a game last year at Arizona. He was off Pac-12. He was the Pac-12 Sixth Man of the Year. He's an excellent shooter. He's an overall scorer, 3-level scorer who got better every year. He was a 4-year college player. He thrives in systems where he really isn't the primary option, and he can just kind of be left alone and shoot threes. That's really what Pell Larson does. Much better athlete than given credit for. He's got quick feet, does a good job off the dribble. He's a really solid defender, fights for rebounds, sticks to his man. He's a fairly average free throw shooter, which is kind of weird because he's such a good perimeter shooter. He only shot like 75% from the line, which is a little odd. But again, Christian Brown is the comp for him. They're getting a shooter here. Pell Larson's a very good polished player. Yeah,
he is. And it reminds me in sort of your description of it as it pertains to his, strengths in shooting for the perimeter, struggles with the line, is a little Victor Oladipo-esque. That reminds me because Oladipo wasn't a great free throw shooter, but it was a decent, perimeter play in that regard. So Good pick. Props to ESPN, by the way, for putting up the proposed trade to Toronto, because this is going to be Toronto's pick via the Davion Mitchell trade.
Hey, they're doing what they can do, I guess. I think they could do more, but hey, let's be grateful for that.
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it for sure. So, and the pick is in, by the way, for the Toronto Raptors midway through this first round. So, see what they decided to do. And you said page one. Who's the only page one guy still left?
Kevin McCullough, Kansas.
And if he drops, if McCullough drops the next pick to LAC, I really expect the Clippers to get him at 6'6", able to score the ball. With PG, you don't know for sure if he's coming back. You need to add some depth. So if he drops there, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there.
Listen, the Clippers are opening a new arena. I don't know if McCullers is going to be the guy who's going to sell a bunch of tickets whenever Kawhi misses, but hey, it's a good move though. It's because Paul George looks to be the Warriors, from what I'm hearing, seems to be the most likely option. I think Philadelphia is still somewhat in the mix, but yeah, Paul George is almost certainly not a Clipper next year, and for the foreseeable future beyond that feels pretty set in stone. Which, by the way, if I can say this, what's that?
My brother really wants him on the Mavs. He's always wanted him because he's that type of prototype player that would play really good with anybody. So, there was talks about him going back to Indiana too. He could almost go in and make any team a way better team. That's
true. It could. If I could say this as well, that, to anybody, they're interviewing Klingon right now on ESPN, and there was, the previous pick, who's the previous pick? Pell Larson was drafted, I believe, during a commercial break. So just if anybody gets drafted during commercial break or during some sort of ESPN production special, whatever, just know that when a Taco Bell commercial played in 2014, currently the best player in the world was drafted at that point. So it's not always the worst thing in the world when you don't maybe get your shine the way that other guys do. Maybe it just adds more fuel to your fire. So,
great point.
An encouraging message to some of these second round guys, because a lot of Hall of Famers come from the second round of this draft, even at this point. So here's the pick for the Raptors, even though it says Kings.
Yes, and this is going to Toronto.
Oh, I love this. Jamal Sheed. Let's go.
Yeah, Jamal Shed is
Shed. I'm sorry. My bad.
Jamal Shed is quite the pick at this point in the draft. Really quite 6'1", 200. So he's an undersized guard, but two-time NCAA All-Region. He's a consensus All-American. He was Big 12 Player of the Year. He's two-time All-AAC. He was all Big 12, like Big 12 All-Defense, AAC Defensive Player of the Year. Like, he's very decorated at Houston. And here's the thing. Last year, not this patch, or the year before that, he was sharing a backcourt with Marcus Sasser. So this is now like Jamal Shed now got to shine a light on himself, and he wasn't the same kind of scorer that Sasser was, but boy, could this dude defend. This guy can really get in your face. Hard-nosed defender. He's a bulldog of a point guard, winning mentality, great leader. That's the kind of player that you're getting with Jamal Shed. Tremendous defender in college. He can elevate for contests really, really well. He shows some upside as a shot creator. He wasn't the most consistent shooter, but you are getting defense, playmaking, a winning mentality with him. He reminds me a lot of Javon Carter. So this is a very, very good pick, very good value here for the Raptors in the middle of the second round. Jamal Shed was one of the best players in college basketball last season, and you're getting him in the middle of the second round.
If I could just add quickly about him, I mean, this is a dog. This dude is the absolute dog. If he hasn't had injuries, we're talking about them beating Duke probably. We're talking about, talk about his defense. His whole leadership and his whole mentality is so next level that, he's going to bounce back from these injuries and he's going to be effective. That dude's mentality is next level. And I really like watching him play, offensive and defensive.
Yeah, and Houston was such a cool story last year in what they were able to do in that run. And so it was horrible to see him go down in that game against the Blue Devils. So, certainly hope for his sake he's able to get back healthy, be ready to go for this upcoming season. Right now, the Clippers are up next, and the pick is in. I do have to say, and I've seen it before, but the Clippers logo might be the single worst logo in the NBA now that they've changed. I'm not sure what.
It's so weird. It's so awful. Nautical. It's very weird.
Yeah. doesn't fit
I
right.
mean,
but
I feel like that design, it could have been nice, but I don't know. They just screwed it up. I don't like it. It's a very dull color.
Well, they're going to be a dull team for the next few years, so that kind of fits. Just hate to say it. Pick is in, and here's the announcement, Mr. Smiles.
And it is staying with the Clippers, by the way.
Yep. Cam Christie to the Los Angeles Clippers at 46.
Nice. So this is actually kind of interesting. So Cam Christie is
Max Christie's brother, right?
Brother, and Max Christie's now with the Lakers, so they are now crosstown rivals.
Nice.
I'm telling you, some of this stuff just happens for a reason, man. It's so funny. But Cam Christie's a big-time shooter. Really hit shots from all over the floor. He's 6'6", 190. He's got a thin frame, but he's long. He's a tall, long kid. Good size and length. It helps him on the defensive end of the floor. Another one of these 3-and-D wings. I told you, Bryson, that's going to be a theme of this draft is these 3-and-D wings. And Cam Christie is one of them. Was productive last year in Minnesota, averaged about 11 points a game, shot almost 40% from three. He's an extremely thin player. Like I said, he's probably going to struggle getting bullied on both ends a little bit. But as far as that's concerned, he's a really solid shooter. If he fills out his body, he could be a solid defender. Reminds me a lot of Alec Burks. He does kind of play a little bit like his brother, but
Yeah, he does.
like I said, 3-and-D wing. So this is a good pick here for the Clippers. Nice depth piece that can play right away.
For sure. And they're showing us sort of the comparison. Max Christie was the 35th pick back in 2022. Hasn't gotten a ton of playing time. You have to imagine that might change this year under JJ Redick, but that is cool. They're going to be within not playing the same arena because the Clippers are obviously moving this offseason in this upcoming season, but certainly a nice little sibling rivalry here in the same city. Although Lakers Clippers is tended to be one-sided over the years. But this Orlando pick does not belong to Orlando. This is actually going to the New Orleans Pelicans at number 47. So, and that has been reported by Shams. Shams is beating Woj tonight, guys. I'm telling you.
Shams is knocking it out of the park.
Yeah. And the pick is in.
Is knocking out of the park. So far, I'm good, Bryson.
Don't jinx it. This is no hitter going on right now.
I know.
Don't you may regret saying that if we.
Well, I didn't regret it yet. I know who the Pelicans are taking. I scouted him too. So
hey, we're good still. Do we still have Tristan Newton on the board?
Yes,
I
we
didn't
do.
see if I missed him. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm watching.
Now, Woj did report the terms of that deal. The Magic are trading the 47th pick to the Pelicans for 2 future pick swaps for more 12-year-olds. Mike Guido, 2030 and 2031. So there you go. Now, this is the second round, so it's a little different than what the Spurs did. But
yeah, they're going to start trading for my unborn children eventually.
There you go.
Hey.
LeBron James' grandkids. Which his son, Bronny James' watch is going to start pretty soon, and we're at 47 now. The pick's in obviously for the Pelicans, and we'll see what they want to do here. But we're getting pretty close to that.
Yeah, we got to be entering Bronny territory at some point sooner or later.
Yep.
I want to ask y'all, where do y'all think he goes? Where do y'all, like, as a basketball fan, where do you want to see him go? I think the Lakers
I'd love
to
see him play with his dad. I mean,
that would be really cool.
It would be a cool story.
Yeah. I hate how sorry. Somebody always tries to ruin the moment saying, his dad did this, his dad did that. Man, I think that's cool as hell. You raise your son, you're one of the GOATs, and you're providing him an opportunity. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's, again, I'm not saying this is going to be like Griffey Jr. and Senior or anything like that. Obviously, those are 2 Hall of Fame level guys, but would it not be the coolest moment, maybe one of the coolest moments in NBA history if like Bronny throws dad a lob or something like that? That would be
dude.
Kind of
like a Dwayne Wade lob. And they get a picture of it.
Throw it off the backboard. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Commercial break pick. Here we go.
All right.
Antonio Reeves to the New Orleans Pelicans.
This is good. So another one of these Kentucky wings. Just kind of a spark plug. Score 6'4", 185. He's probably best suited for coming off the bench as a change of pace. Got great straight line speed and can attack the ball on the defensive end. He knows how to create turnovers. Great shooter from the perimeter. He can really kind of stop on a dime. He's got a lot of big time stop and go ability. He shot almost 45% from 3 last year at Kentucky. And he just has the upside to be a do-it-all kind of scorer. He's not a terrible defender, but he's thin and he's not very strong, so he's going to get bullied a little bit. Reminds me a little bit of Justin Holiday.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. But Antonio Reeves, not a bad pick here for New Orleans as kind of like a bench depth piece. Again, another shooter.
Kentucky clearly they love to shoot the three ball, obviously led by Reed Shepherd a season ago. With that being Coach Cal's last year. We actually have an interesting little nugget here. If we can pull this up from our good friend Barry Grant Jr. about Bronny. He says, you want to hear an update. Rich Paul is calling teams threatening if he is selected, he will play in Australia. So that kind of goes to what we were saying earlier, Mike, that if teams may try and select him and use him as leverage to get something from the Lakers, that looks to be kind of nailing that conference. So pick number 55 almost feels like a formality at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that's probably what ends up happening.
Yeah.
One thing I know about Nico Harrison, though, is he doesn't care. If he wants,
no, he doesn't.
He's the type of dude, and it might not even be a good thing, but he's the type of dude that would do it out of spite. Oh, you want Bronny to play with you? I love you, LeBron, but he's coming down here and trade up to like 50 and get him. I'm not hoping we do that. I have other guys there, but he's that type of GM.
Well, he is. He's very much a deal maker. And, LeBron there's been LeBron to the Mavs rumors, it feels like, for a while now, just because of the relationship with Kyrie. I don't think that fits very well just because of LeBron and Luka are both on-ball players. I honestly think Luka could play off-ball more than maybe we give him credit for. But
yeah,
I don't know that because
that's interesting. I don't see it happening, and I don't see it.
No.
But everybody would want it to happen in Dallas just because of those three playing together. But I don't think Kyrie wants that, and I don't think Luka wants that, to be honest. They might not admit that, but I don't think that's what they want.
Yeah, I think they want to build their own thing, obviously coming up the momentum of this season. But again, I think I alluded to it earlier, and I talked about for the last couple of weeks. Like, I was, you may not know this, Tyler, but coming into the playoffs, I did my top 10 teams in the NBA at that point, and I thought Denver was going to win the championship. I had them at number 1. I had Boston at 2nd. I had your Mavs 3rd because I thought the way they finished the second half of the season, the massive improvement on the defensive end of the floor after making the Gafford trade and the PJ Washington trade, that they could be a very serious threat in the Western Conference. But also the fact that, and there was a stat that went all the way up into the Oklahoma City series and kind of stopped starting with the conference finals, that when Luka Doncic's usage rate is 30% or below, the Mavs were undefeated 10-0. And most of those games came in the second half of the season. It sort of goes to where Luka can still be the primary decision maker for the offense and be the focal point of the offense, but not being as Luka Doncic dependent and reliant is, I think, what can get the Mavs to that next level and potentially hoisting a Larry O'Brien trophy. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think it starts with Luka. I think him getting better. I think our team getting to that next level starts with him maturing a little bit and really just understanding, hey, I don't need the ball the whole time. You're right. Kyrie, they take turns, right? But there needs to be some actual leadership there of, hey, we're gonna do this then, and we're gonna do that then. And Luka just needs to go to the corner sometimes, and he did that a little bit. But he needs to be okay with taking 3 or 4 possessions without the ball, or going defensive hard for 3 or 4 possessions, straight defense. Forget about offense for a second. That's the type of growth I'd like to see him. I do think we're going to get somebody that's a little bit better as a third scorer. But Luka and Kyrie, they got to get better. They got to get better if we want to win, because they're going to be with us for a while, at least for the next 2-3 years.
Yes, for the next 2, because I think Kyrie did sign a 3-year contract last offseason during free agency, obviously to stay in Dallas.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't know if he had a player option, but that's right. He had a 3-year. Yeah.
He may. I'll have to go back and look at that. I think he may have had a player option, but looks like the Spurs are about to make their pick, and this is San Antonio's pick, by the way. So no shenanigans here. It looks like it's calmed down just a little. The late 30s into the 40s is starting to get a little wild here with the Knicks in Oklahoma City shaking things up. But
yeah.
So then Indiana.
Everybody's just waiting on LeBron. I mean, Bronny.
Yeah. Oh, no question. I mean, yeah. Here's the pick. 38.
Yep. I like this pick. Harrison Ingram to the Spurs here. This is actually very, very good. Combo forward. He plays like a 10-year NBA vet already. Like he's just such a seasoned player. High IQ player. He's got a great frame, 6'7", 230. Does a lot of the little things that coaches really, really love. Like I said, do-it-all combo forward. So he's a solid passer for his size. He can facilitate an offense from the elbows. He can play either the 3 or the 4. Can be used as a great pick and roll piece as either a screener or a distributor. I think he can really play both roles. Terrific rebounder for his size. He averaged about 9 rebounds a game last year at North Carolina. So he's had some really nice success over there. He was a transfer from Stanford. Compare him a lot to Grant Williams. Like, I think he's going to provide that sort of, if given the opportunity, he can provide that sort of production. Just a seasoned college player who understands the game. He can pop off screens and hit threes. Versatile defender. You'd like for him to be a little bit better of a finisher at the rim, but if you're playing him on the perimeter, I think he could be a very solid rotational piece for a team. So it's a good pick here by the Spurs.
It is a good pick, and real quick, so we talked about sort of the war between Shams and Woj going off during this offseason. Woj has throwing a nice little wrench in this. So he reports we got a trade that Reggie Jackson is being traded from the Denver Nuggets to the Charlotte Hornets for 3. Sorry. Okay. Woj's initial tweet said they're trading Reggie Jackson to Charlotte for 3 unprotected second-round picks. This next one says with 3 unprotected second-round picks. So,
wow,
Denver getting in return then. If it's with 3 unprotected second rounds, was that a typo? I don't know. Or would make more sense, right?
You never know anymore, Bryson.
Anyways, but Reggie Jackson to be with the Hornets. I assume they buy him out at this point, but there you go.
Interesting. All right, so this is where the Philadelphia pick would have been, but it's forfeited. So now they're skipping that forfeited pick, and this is now Indiana on the clock here.
So Indiana on the clock. They got about 1:42 to make their selection here. So best on the board, Mike. What do you got?
Best on the board still for me is Kevin McCullough out of Kansas. Then it's Keyshawn Johnson out of Arizona. Keyshawn Johnson, I find, is kind of like the Draymond Green of this draft, kind of like one of those undersized, like hard-nosed defensive athletic forwards. Melvin Aginsa out of France. Then I've got Cam Spencer, UConn, a little bit of Dante DiVincenzo, another two-way guard. And then Trenton Flowers, who played in the NBL last year. Really nice athlete with good size. He's a baby, though. You're going to need to develop him a little bit. So nothing too terrible. Kevin McCullough's the only guy on page 1, and then the rest of the guys are in the 40s. So we're going pretty good here.
We are going pretty good, and that's pretty surprising. A page 1 guy may fall unless he goes to the Pacers here into the 50s. So interesting little situation we got here. And yeah, so this, by the way, this says that Denver is getting 3 first-round picks, or sorry, 3 second-round picks rather. So I was just saying
3 first-round picks for Reggie Jackson. Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah, just disband the Hornets organization if that occurs. So I assume Reggie gets bought out and then becomes a free agent because I know there've been some friction in the negotiation process. So Denver's bench gets a little weaker, but let's see who do the Nuggets take in this draft to kind of help that.
The Nuggets took Deron Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
So they got their kind of own version of Naz Reid in the first round.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of combat Minnesota. So we very well could see that kind of matchup again. Oh, yeah, with 8 seconds to spare.
And they dumped all their picks to go get him. That was their only selection. So Denver went all in on Deron Holmes, and that's it.
With 8 seconds to spare, the Pacers pick is in. Go ahead, Tyler.
I thought Ryan Dunn, they ended up getting Ryan Dunn. Did they trade him? That was the very last.
Ryan Dunn ended up in Phoenix.
Okay, so Denver traded him, or Denver.
That was the same trade, yeah.
Denver.
Yep. And Phoenix has been active throughout this draft process, as have the Knicks, the Thunder, the Spurs. So plenty of teams have tried to finagle this process. Again, I'm not really sure where those second-round picks are coming from for Reggie Jackson. So they're all three unprotected, so we'll see. But it's the latest, I guess, offseason happening. Well, it's related to the draft because it's 3 second-rounders, but pick is in for the Pacers. So let's see. Yeah, Kevin McCullough Jr. still on the board. That'd be a nice pick for Indiana. That'd be really nice. Okay, commercial break pick here, Mike Guido.
Here we go.
And it is Tristan Newton out of UConn.
Wow.
The Pacers.
Stat stuffer.
I knew they were going to get him. I didn't want them to get him because, man, Rick Carlisle is piecing these guys together, man. They made a run. These guys are good. I wanted Tristan Newton. I really did. Dude's a baller. Dude's absolutely a hooper. And he's very young still, and he was coached by Hurley. I got a lot of high hopes for him.
Yeah. No, he's a really solid player. 2-time national champion, 2-time NCAA all-tourney. He's consensus All-American. I mean, you could make the argument that Tristan Newton was the most productive player at UConn this past season. You can make the argument he was their best player. Experienced player, like I said, he spent 3 years at East Carolina before winning back-to-back national titles at UConn. Great basketball IQ. He does a little bit of everything. He's a great finisher at the rim. He's not a great athlete, but he still finds a way to kind of maneuver himself into a position where he can finish shots, fights through contact. He's a high effort player on both ends. He's a very intense defender and rebounder. He averaged 15, 6.5, and 6 last year at UConn. So he needs to be a little bit more consistent as a shooter. He reminds me of Johnny Davis a little bit. So again, one of these do-it-all kind of guards. Listen, if the Pacers can find a role for him, like I said, Tyler brought it up. Rick Carlisle likes to work with guys like these. So we'll see if they can make him out into something that they can contribute with.
And a lot of times, man, these second-round picks, that guys that, like you mentioned, Tristan Newton played in college for, I guess, 5 years. That would have been, that's something that where it's great, especially for a team like Indiana that just made a run to the Eastern Conference Finals, that's looking to try and compete with, obviously, of course, the Celtics, but as well as the Knicks, the Sixers, other teams out east that could make a run at an Eastern Conference Finals berth with Boston, to be able to stack as much depth as they can. Depth isn't the Pacers' problem at all. That's not their they arguably the deepest team in the playoffs that we saw a year ago. But anyway, you can be able to add talent, add experienced talent from college to a team that really needs it is always going to be a plus. And the Pacers are again, by the way. And this is their pick, right?
As of right now, it certainly looks that way. But again, the leading seconds.
Yep.
We'll see.
By the way, so
Lakers are coming up too, so it might almost be Bronny time.
Might almost be Bronny time. So we're in the 50s now, and there will be no. Technically there's the 60th pick, but obviously the Phoenix pick and the Philadelphia pick picks both forfeited in the second round. But Tim Bontemps reported on Twitter. He says Denver, which is bumping up against the second apron, and still has Kentavious Caldwell-Pope out there as a pending free agent, gets some significant savings moving off of Jackson's $5.25 million salary for next season. So that makes sense, kind of a salary dump to the Hornets. And so I really hate the second apron. I hate it.
I don't get it. I don't get I don't know. The CBA is very complicated.
It is very complicated. The best way I know how to describe it, or at least understand it, is it's basically like a hard cap, kind of like the NFL has to a certain degree. Like it's not as hard as the NFL is, but it's let's put it this way, it's a lot closer to the NFL than it is to Major League Baseball.
Right. Yep.
So the pick is in though for the Pacers, back-to-back picks here in the second round at 49 and 50. There's no immediate reporting that this is going anywhere else. So this looks to be back-to-back picks for Indiana to try and stack depth and develop young talent. So anybody in this situation, Mike, that's available that maybe didn't have a ton of college experience is sort of like a juxtaposition of the guy they just took, Tristan Newton.
I mean, Trenton Flowers is somebody that I think you should keep an eye on. I mean, he's an NBL kid, 6'8", 210, really high upside. He's got great athleticism and has upside as a scorer. But again, he averaged 5 points a game in the NBL last year for Adelaide. So again, we'll we'll see. I think as far as like a gamble, I think Trenton Flowers is worth a look. So we'll see.
See what they do here. So this is Golden State's in a couple picks, but that's actually going to go to Oklahoma City. So and then that's a deal they made earlier with my Warriors. So it doesn't look like we'll have a pick. Looks like we got our next selection at pick number 50 for the pick. Oh no, they just took it to commercial. No, actually, no, never mind. This is the pick. Here we go. Enrique Freeman to the Pacers.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So Enrique Freeman has a really great story, a really, really great story. So just give me a second here while I pull this up, because Enrique Freeman has fought for virtually everything that he's earned. Like, he was a former walk-on at Akron, and then all of a sudden became the MAC Player of the Year. Like, this guy really kind of turned it on and developed into quite the player. So it's really cool to see him get drafted 6'7", 212. Sticks out like a sore thumb on tape. Like, he just kind of plays like a wild man, right? Like, you can just see him flying around. He's a good athlete, crazy rebounder and defender. He's got tremendous length for pulling down boards. He does really well as an interior scorer, but he's going to make his living just being an energy-first, defensive, rebounder, physical kind of player. Very unproven shooter. We'll see if he can develop into a little bit better of a shooter going forward. But Isaiah Stewart is the comp for him. He's not as big as Isaiah Stewart, but Enrique Freeman is a very, very cool story. Former walk-on, former JUCO, and then all of a sudden became a conference player of the year and now an NBA draft pick. So it's very, very cool to see this.
Yeah, kudos to him, man. Kudos to him putting the work in.
If we had a comp like him in the draft this year, it would be the guy from Dayton that that Denver took, because that guy just flies around the ball. You could tell his hustle is a little bit a notch up from everybody else, and I think that's very like this guy, Enrique Freeman. He's a hustler, man. He goes out and gets it.
For sure. Knicks are on the clock now, and this was 51 and 56 were involved in the trade with Oklahoma City. I'm gonna have to go back into the Woj archives to see what they're going to be doing, or maybe in the Shams archives. Now I'm looking at Woj's, because there was like a back and forth, like little, like, okay, so the pick is in, and it says Knicks. Let me check, because I'm not entirely. No, okay, this is the Knicks pick, and these would have been Phoenix's pick. So ESPN got the graphic right, Mike. This is the Knicks pick, and they were able to update this in time. So kudos to them.
Yeah, but I think this was originally the Knicks pick.
Oh, it was?
Yes, I think this was originally. Yeah, the Phoenix pick was coming later. Yeah, I think this was originally the Knicks pick.
Okay, so, well, that's weird, because the Shams tweet, he retweeted about Phoenix taking Iguodaro at 40. It says Knicks now had picks numbers 51 and 56. So I guess that's just like a reminder tweet or a report tweet.
Yeah.
Okay. But the pick is in for New York at number 51. Bronny Watch continues. Again, our guy Barry Gryd Jr. reports that Rich Paul is pretty adamant, like, do not take him, or he is going to land down under to play basketball. Which honestly, in a weird way, might actually be kind of good for him. I mean, we've seen a lot of, it's probably not going to happen, but I mean, we've seen a bunch of NBL guys really boost their drafts. So, I mean, that's slowly becoming the second best basketball league in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So I don't know if, I doubt that is the case as far as Bronny ending up elsewhere, but the Lakers does.
A few guys I've talked to has this opinion, but I don't know if many do. But I think he wants to get out of the foot, the shadows of his dad, right? In that one interview that he had he's like, I don't want to just follow my, I want to be my own person, right? I think everybody wants to be their own person. Yes, your dad is the best in the world, but he wants to write his own story. And I'm sure he wants to play with his dad, right? His dad probably talked to him. Man, that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. but eventually he's going to want to do his own. He's going to want to create his own legacy. So that's going to be fun to watch on, the decisions he makes and, when LeBron leaves, what he does, all that stuff.
For sure. Looks like they just made their pick, Mike.
So it looks like the Knicks just took Melvin Aginsa. If I'm seeing that correctly, that's a really nice player. Melvin Aginsa can really play, dude. He can really stroke it. I mean, he's like if you remember, he was one of my favorite players when he was in the league, but CJ Miles with that like left-handed smooth stroke, that's what Melvin Aginsa is. 6'7", 214. He played for San Quentin basketball in the BetClick Elite League last year. Not much of a defender. But again, a natural scorer with the basketball. He'll make a living hitting tough shots from all over the floor. He thrives off the catch. He's pretty good off the dribble. He plays with a certain physicality on both ends that coaches are going to love. Just not a very good ball handler. And I think he's a little bit of an iffy defender, but solid player here. This is a good pick by the Knicks.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, he kind of fits the Thibodeau mold, right?
He certainly does. And again, there's another one of these foreign kids that I'm sure are going to drive Knicks fans crazy, but this guy's good. I'm telling you, he can really make shots.
I mean,
is McCullough really about to fall to the Warriors? That's such a Warriors thing for.
This is Oklahoma City's pick. No,
it ain't going to the Warriors.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Much to Mike's delight. But no, that would be a
they need
steal.
To pick somebody else.
Here's my question. Okay. Where do you have? Okay, I'll ask this question first, Mike. Where do you have McCullough on your board?
37.
37. So he's
37.
I mean, we all know he's fallen pretty far, but I just want to know where you had him relative to that. So I don't know why they're showing the Warriors war room at all, but
it's not their pick. Like, do you see how clueless this all is? Like, just stop. It's not
the website is all wrong.
It's not Woj is sitting right next to you. Ask him.
Yeah.
Can't Woj say this is going to Oklahoma City?
Let me finish though my little scenario here. We get to 55. McCullough's available. Now the Lakers stole Dalton Connect way lower than where any of us thought he would end up.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't sound like they're going to get the best player. It sounds like they're going to get the son.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Okay, here's.
Trust me. I think they're.
It actually.
I think they're glad they got Dalton.
It actually pissed me off that the Warriors logo is up here. Quentin Post out of Boston College.
So this is nice. Fun. Quentin Post. I like Quentin Post, Shooter. Man. One of these stretch centers. He's an interesting, fun little player to watch. I shouldn't say little. He's like 7'1".
Say not that little, Mike.
He's 7 foot 240. He's not little. Yeah. He's not little. No. But Boston College, 17 points a game, 8 rebounds. He shot 43% from 3 last year as a 7-footer. He's going to OKC. Wide skill set. He can protect the rim. Averaged a little more than a block and a half per game. 82% free throw shooter. He can step outside and hit threes. He's got some shot blocking ability. Like I said, he doesn't handle the ball well. So he's never going to like create his own shot or anything like that. But as a floor spacing big, that's where he's going to make his living. Reminds me a lot of the old Sixers big man, Spencer Hawes. So he's an interesting player, a rim protecting shooter. I'm sure you don't see that very often. A rim protector who can average 2 blocks a game, but can also step outside and hit threes. So Quentin Post is a fun player.
You don't see this in the NBA 20 years ago. I'll tell you that. Just shows how much the game has changed. Or certainly, it's not as common. I shouldn't say you don't see it. It's not as common in the NBA 20 years ago, certainly. Barry's telling Mike to chill here in the comments. So I'm at the whole. Listen, I'm kind of on Mike's team here, Barry. It is a little ridiculous with
silly.
With the draft, drafting everything. So, yeah. So this next pick is going to the Timberwolves, from the Pistons. And what trade was that? Was that one of the trades made earlier before the draft, before the second round? I guess it would have been, but nonetheless, Timberwolves are on the clock. I think they've had probably a top 4 or 5 draft thus far.
Just to give you an idea of the sham that Woj is.
Oh,
okay?
Careful. Relax.
You ready?
Oh, no.
So about 15 minutes ago, Shams' Twitter went down. So Shams hasn't been able to report anything. At that very moment, Woj stopped reporting picks. Huh?
So you're saying he's taking his information from his
rival?
From his Padawan.
You think so? I just find it very convenient that all of a sudden Woj stops racing and Shams' Twitter goes down, and all of a sudden Woj doesn't have anything to tweet.
I wouldn't. Maybe he's doing it as a, you know what? It would almost be unfair at this point if I have the. Of course, that's not how insiders think. What are we talking about? No, it's a competitive field.
Shams is back.
Oh, Shams is back. Wonderful.
So this pick here from Minnesota is going to Memphis.
Oh, yeah. This website, even ESPN.com, totally backwards on the teams. I can't follow it here.
We can't follow it either, buddy. Don't worry about that. We're all confused. So this pick is actually going to the Grizzlies here, not the Timberwolves, through a trade. So Minnesota now is going to be the second to last pick at number 57. So we got Boston picks at 54th. Would that not be absolute comedy if they took Bronny James before the Lakers?
Would be really something else.
That would be phenomenal. That would be
something else.
You want to reignite the Lakers Celtics rivalry? That will do it. That will do it.
What? That would be the most spiteful move ever by Brad Stevens, because they probably think they're not even sitting at the same table as the Lakers. And if they went and swooped in LeBron, oh, man, that would be straight fireworks. They just won the title too, 18? Oh, no. Lakers are not like that.
By the way, the Grizzlies. Cam Spencer from UConn.
Another UConn kid, huh? Right? I mean, that makes what? So Castle, Klingon, Newton, and Cam Spencer.
Yep.
All gone in the NBA draft. This is a really solid draft here for the UConn Huskies. Dante DiVincenzo is the comp, 6'4", 205, hit 44% of his threes, 5-year college player. He only spent 1 year at UConn and immediately became one of their most impactful players. Phenomenal three-point shooter. He's got some ability to hit some shots from all over. He's an intense defender without some real athleticism. And the fact that he's a little undersized and not very athletic leads people to believe that his upside's a little bit marginal. But again, as an intense defender and a shooter, Cam Spencer is another guy that, transfer portal, got up to, a high level of college basketball, and he's pretty resilient. So good pick here by the Memphis Grizzlies. Cam Spencer can play.
And Mike, last year, UConn had 3 first-rounders, right? They had Sanogo, the shooter from the Pelicans, Hawkins, and then they had Jackson that went to Milwaukee. These guys are just breeding all-stars now. I'm not all-stars, excuse me, but they're breeding NBA players, and it's cool to see. It's cool to see.
Definitely. Absolutely.
It's testament to Dan Hurley. They'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
In a major way. Kevin McCullough Jr., by the way, still on the board.
Wow.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm kind of surprised.
It could be that injury.
I think Boston swoops out and takes him.
It's possible. I mean, listen, Boston. I wonder if they take another shooter. Right? They took Baylor Shireman last night as a big time shooter. I'm curious where they go here.
You can never have enough of those. I mean, obviously, they literally have a dude on their roster whose job is, hey, Peyton, hit some half court shots for us in the NBA Finals twice. So they're deep enough to where they can make those decisions and then just play with their options from there. And then after this, Bronny Watch is officially on. It'll be officially official.
I just saw a report that said that the Lakers were on the clock. And I don't think that they would be putting that out there unless Bronny was still on the clock or still on the board. So I would imagine that Boston did not take Bronny James here.
Oh,
there's
wow.
the vindictive side set of me would have kind of liked that. That would have been
Yeah.
hilarious.
But this is a really cool moment in NBA history, man. It really
Yeah, it
is.
is. Yeah, it is.
How much you want to bet that that just like every year, it's going to be one of the last picks that screws me over.
I forgot about that. Yeah, there's 5 picks left? Yep.
There's 5 picks left, and so
Come
far
on.
I'm good.
Come on.
And
And
I'm
you still got
short
page
on
one guy left,
I'm
right?
short. By the way, Bryson, I'm short on players this year. I only have 70 on my list. So
Hey, Mike, if I could say you've been on fire, brother. You've been on fire.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. See, at least somebody appreciates my work.
That would be the ultimate flex
Okay.
for the great Mike Guido, the great draft analyst he is.
Okay. Boston. Okay. So Boston took a player who's on my board, but he's the very last player on my Boston took the player who's number 70 on my board.
You know what? Let's get this over with. ESPN reported. Yeah, let's just go and get this over with. We'll put it up. Anton Watson. Yeah. Whoa, I spelled his name very wrong.
Oh,
I wanted Dallas to get him.
misspell.
I wanted Dallas to get him.
There we go. Anton Watson. That's a little bit. Anton Watson to the cell. Let's go and get this analysis out of the way, Guido, so we can focus on Bronny, because Tyler is 100% right. This is an NBA historical moment right here. So tell me about Anton Watson.
Yeah, Anton Watson. Listen, like I said, I'm fairly low on him. He's my number 70 overall player. Power forward out of Gonzaga, 6'8", 225. He's kind of a tweener forward, but he can be used in a few different ways. So I think Boston's going to be able to get a decent amount out of him. Profile's a good defender at the next level, really solid finisher at the rim with great touch. He can stop and hit floaters. He really became a nice floater shooter in his later career. Solid playmaker out of the post. His shooting is still a little bit of a question at this point, but like a bit of an older Thaddeus Young is, I think, the comp for him. So just some solid defense. If you can, like I said, if you can develop his jump shot, then you maybe have the makings of a two-way forward. So it's a bit of a gamble, but nothing too serious for Boston. Solid pick here at the end of the draft.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a guy you wanted, Tyler. But yeah, for sure, definitely a good pick for Boston. I see some smirking in that Lakers war room right now.
I have a really sneaky suspicion that this is going to end up being Bronny James, guys. Like I get that feeling that this is going to end up being Bronny James. And if it is, I'm going to be happy to see it. I really am. Like that'll be so cool if it ends up being Bronny James.
It will be. I'd love to see, some video, because Bronny is not in. I think all of the guys who were in New York at the ESPN studio, I think they're gone. I mean, McCullough might be left, but other than that, so Bronny is not in New York. So I imagine he's probably in LA with his folks, with LeBron James, with Savannah James. So
yeah,
definitely be a very, very cool moment if this happens. 2:40 left for the Lakers. Still no word if the pick is in. I mean, they wouldn't actually not go with Bronny at this. It's the 55th pick. Like that's the one thing. I just spilled water everywhere. That's the one thing that people are overreacting to a little bit, in the sense of, Bronny's the 55th pick of the draft, or potentially the 55th pick of the draft.
Yeah.
Like this isn't like they're using a second round pick on a guy who's, or using a first round pick on a guy who's really more second round projected. So I think people are overreacting to the nepotism, like this, as if this is the first nepotism moment in sports history. Like and Bronny's a good player. Like, come on. What do you have, Mike? 62?
62. Yep.
Yeah.
I have him higher than the guy that just got drafted. So
okay. So there you go. Yeah, the very last guy, by the way, on your board gets selected by Boston.
I almost see that there's zero chance that this is not Bronny James. I get the feeling that this is going to be Bronny James. And if it is, then that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And what a cool story.
Here we go. Pick is in for the Los Angeles Lakers, and they are high-fiving like crazy. Rob Pelinka is just high-fiving, handshaking. JJ Redick's in there right next to him. I almost didn't recognize Redick with the hat on. Yeah, they are all very, very, they look out of their minds thrilled. So it's
Bronny James, guys.
It has to be.
There's no way it's not Bronny James.
And you know what? We'll even because it's Bronny James. You know what? Screw. We're gonna when Mr. Smiles comes up. If they do show him, we're gonna give the chimes because you know what? This is the son of the great LeBron James. We got to give the young man his respect.
Absolutely.
I just wish they would go ahead and announce it so we can make it officially official.
Yes. Oh boy.
The pick is in.
Pick is in.
And yes, for those wondering, I did scout Bronny James. I'm not that dumb.
No.
I did evaluate Bronny James.
That would just be you would. I know you're obviously not.
Imagine-
I know you well enough, Mike Guido, to know that. Oh, okay, here it is. Okay, Malika Andrews says we've all been waiting for, so that just gives it away right there. So we'll go and play the chimes for the Lakers.
Look at
And
Stephen
Mr.
A's face.
Smiley as
Stephen A.
ever.
was pissed.
Bronny James
Bronny
to the Los
James.
Angeles Lakers. There
Very,
you go.
very cool.
Wow.
How cool is that?
Very cool. Bronny James gets selected by the Lakers.
Awesome stuff.
That's really great. That's great stuff.
All right,
that's
draft
great
profile, Mike. What do you got?
Yeah, number 62 overall player. He reminds me a lot of Davion Mitchell. 6'2", 210. Listen, the numbers obviously are not eye-popping. He didn't really produce all that much at USC. But listen, you can see it on tape. He's a good athlete. I think he's got more upside than some people believe. And obviously the expectations are high since he's LeBron's kid. But tremendous upside as a defender. He's a good athlete. He can play above the rim. He's a terrific playmaker if given the opportunity. He's a very smart player. He kind of takes after his dad in that respect. He's a high IQ kid. Shot very poorly last season. He's not an efficient shooter or an efficient scorer. So that part of his game is going to have to develop. But, I mean, the big thing is, this is just a very, very cool story. So very cool for Bronny James. This is big stuff. This is big stuff. I really, really can appreciate a story like this.
This is sports history, and it's, just think about this from not to get necessarily too deep here, but just think about, and we will get to Phoenix. Suns fans who are mad at us, you can wait. Think about this kid from Akron and what he the adversities he dealt with in his life. To think that what he would go on to be as a player and as a businessman, and this sounds crazy. I'm almost getting somewhat choked up thinking about it. And to think his firstborn son is going to be his teammate, that's damn cool right there. That really is.
It really is something else. It really is something else.
All right, we've got a ton of comments here. Real quick, Barry is very excited. Celebration. He's got a bunch of yas. He said JJ won't let him fail. We're gonna get Bryce too. No, Braun's gonna be gone by the time Bryce is ready to go. He's gonna be.
Look, Barry's making LeBron out to be like LeVar Ball. Like all my kids are gonna play on the same team. Man.
Oh, see, here's Alberto P says Thanasis 2.0. You need to relax, okay? Relax, okay?
That would be really funny. Thanasis 2.0.
Come on now. That's a totally different situation. Like Thanasis is legitimately not that good. All right, let's bring Tyler back into we got 3 picks left, including your Mavs, who is the last pick, who have the last pick in this draft. Phoenix is on the clock right now.
I think it's for the Knicks, right?
Oh, is it that's right, it is the Knicks. So no way
this is the Knicks here.
Go. No way McCullough doesn't draft.
They just go ahead. They just drafted. So who did the Phoenix pick go to?
Oh, McCullough. There you go. Okay, McCullough goes
McCullough.
Yep,
Kevin McCullough. There you go. So here we go. First page of the big board is finally done. It's retired.
The last pick of the draft, huh?
37th player on my board, Kevin McCullough, 6'6", 205. Saw a massive uptick in offensive production this past season, both in overall efficiency and 3-point shooting. 18 points a game. He's an excellent defender. 2-time All Big 12. He's Big 12 All Defense. Big time perimeter defender. I think he could log minutes right away. He's a polished player. He's an older player, and I think he's a safe player. Teams will have concerns about his offensive capability since he's only really done it for 1 year. He's really only had one real productive offensive season, but he reminds me a lot of Nick Batum. So if you can get some production out of him as a wing, as a shooter, a two-way wing. I think that's a really solid pick here this late in the second round. I had him in the first round. You're getting him late in the second. Really solid pick here.
It is a solid pick, and it's, if you remember a year ago, Mike, when the guy that fell and we were all surprised was Trace Jackson Davis. He goes to my Warriors, and I think has a very impressive rookie season.
Yeah.
Especially when he was drafted. He fell a little bit. So this very well could be the case with Kellen McCullough Jr. So kudos to him, and looks like he's going to the New York Knicks now. So I imagine Knicks fans are pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I just wonder if his injuries were a reason that he fell so low. I mean, because that was a bad injury that he had to end the season. I mean, I don't really know, but he didn't play, right?
I don't think he did. No, I think that was something that Bill Self kind of lamented during the tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a red flag for some teams, but he'll be okay. I mean, look at Cam Whitmore and Jarris Walker. They were injured prone, and they had a great rookie season.
Oh yeah, he had an excellent season. Both of them had excellent seasons.
Yeah.
So this is Memphis pick. This is proposed trade to the Timberwolves. The pick is in for Minnesota for the second to last of this 2024 draft. It would be the fourth to last if the Sixers and the Suns didn't get in trouble. But nonetheless, Mike Guido, this is the closest you've ever gotten, man. I don't want to jinx it. This is
2 picks away, Bryson. Two picks away.
Man,
we're getting close. Minnesota and Dallas, and that's it.
Who do you have for Dallas?
Who did I have for Dallas? I think I might have Cam Spencer. He was gone already. So in the mock draft. So
nice.
Minnesota's had one of the better drafts. Oh no, this pick's going to Toronto. So we got potentially one last little trade here. So this pick's going to the Raptors, actually.
So Minnesota's trading this to Toronto.
Yep.
Okay.
So Toronto now has made their pick, or Minnesota's made the pick for Toronto, and looks like it's going to get announced. And
nobody will ever know that it was Toronto's pick.
Nope. not until
nobody will ever know. Jeez Louise.
ESPN or anybody for that matter darn sure won't tell us other than Shams and Woj.
It's easily the longest second round we've ever had, Bryson.
I think that's very intentional given that it got its own night. There's no question about that.
No doubt about it.
See, pick is in, and is Mr. Smiles back up? I really, really hope the New York studio is clear of players, because when that sucks to be the last. It's one thing to be the last guy in the green room. In a TV studio. Dang, that'd be kind of brutal. Yeah, that's cool. They just showed Bronny James next to his dad in a Lakers jersey. That's. I may hate the Lakers with a passion, but that's pretty awesome.
So Dalton Connect and Bronny James in one draft for the Lakers. I think that's pretty
bad.
It's pretty dope for all. I mean, for all the James, it really is. Dad, son, mom, brother. That's just dope.
I'll tell you what though, because the thing is, Bryce is probably going to start in the G League. Or Bronny's probably going to start in the G League. Maybe we see him get some. I shouldn't say even get minutes, because the Lakers are you imagine going to continue to make moves. Connect's going to be getting minutes for them, but you imagine January, February. Does he sign a 2-way contract at some point, or does he start with a 2-way contract potentially?
That's a great question. I think he's going to have to earn his keep there. I would say they very slow with his development, but seeing that LeBron and him have a major goal to play together, they probably will speed it up. So I think you're right, man. January, February after the All-Star break, you might see him play. You might see him play with LeBron.
Kudos to ESPN. They just mid-pick here swapped it to propose trade to Toronto.
There you go.
Look at that. Look at that. At the very end of the draft. Great stuff. Great stuff.
Thank you. Good stuff.
Very end.
Oh, boy. They're really dragging this pick out, man. Jeez,
yeah, they are.
Come on.
Maybe so they had time for the Bronny discussion because he was at 55.
I'm telling you. Listen, I get it. It's a huge story.
Yeah, it is.
They are going to milk that story for a long time, dude. That is going to lead every sports show ever.
Oh, yeah.
I would imagine it's going to lead yours tomorrow, right, Bryson?
Oh, no question. That the Connect thing is going to be a part of it in its own separate sort of as far as the overlook at the draft. But that is, I mean, this is. I don't think any of us are being hyperbolic and saying this is a major moment in the history of professional sports in America, team sports. So, I mean, and by the way, it isn't like LeBron's holding on for dear life either. That's the other thing that people got to remember. Like, he just averaged 25, 8, and 7 on 50% from the field and over 40 from 3. Come on.
I don't think you should sleep on LeBron James going into this season.
That sleeping on LeBron James tends to be a pretty poor bet. That's
not a good guy.
Rarely works. Rarely works.
Man, can we just get?
They really are milking this.
Holy moly! Listen. I want to know if I'm going to go perfect. I'm anxious. Come on.
Anxiety is off the charts for you now, Guido.
My heart is beating out of my chest.
See, now I'm just going to look at Twitter now. I'm just going to, you know what?
I've been checking Twitter this whole time, Bryson, and it's nothing.
Nope.
Yeah,
I've got nothing here. I think.
I really am wondering what the Mavs do here.
Apparently, Woj and Shams got locked out of Twitter. Like, apparently, they both got locked out of Twitter so they would stop spoiling stuff.
That's crazy.
Elon had something to do with that?
What's that?
Yeah, so you think Elon might have had something to do with that? I don't know.
Maybe he's a big-time NBA draft fan.
I guess.
He's just like, you know what? Press the nuke button on both of these guys. Where's the football?
Yeah, seriously.
They're going back to Kevin McCullough here.
Yep.
Again, he's going to the Knicks. The Knicks have had a really solid draft. Pacom Dadier, Tyler Kolek, Melvin Aginsa, and Kevin McCullough. That's kind of a haul. Like, that really is. That's a lot of depth. And they got a lot of guys. They got some guys that can help them right now. McCullough can help you right now. Kolek can help you right now. And you got 2 kids. I don't know if they're coming over right away, but 2 high upside wing players. Big into it. Here we go. Come on. Keep me perfect.
Ulrich Chamoche?
Yep, got it. Okay.
Oh.
Ulrich Champche. Yes.
Wow.
We are still alive, baby. We are still alive that Ulrich Champche is going to the Raptors. My number 63 player, Ulrich Champche. Big guy, really athletic, super raw, draft and stash. 6'11", 230, 13 points, 9 rebounds a game for the NBA Academy Africa in the BAL last year. He's one of the rawest prospects in the entire draft. And fun fact, he is the youngest player in the entire draft this year. So he's an absolute baby, supreme athletic ability. I mean, you can see some of the tape. I mean, just some of the stuff, the athletic ability that he has with his size is just nuts. You can see his defense translating to the NBA really well. Terrific shot blocker. He's going to thrive in the pick and roll. He may actually be able to shoot threes at the next level. So he's got endless potential. He's just tremendously raw. He's not going to be able to contribute for a while. It reminds me a lot of Thon Maker. So really interesting pick here. Youngest player in the draft, Ulrich Champche, going to the Toronto Raptors. Really interesting stuff.
Real quick here, Tyler, and don't check your phone at all, Guido, because I don't want it to get spoiled if you scout or not scout. I want your live, raw, unfiltered reaction. I can break some news, though, that this is not the Mavs pick. This is actually the Knicks pick. So they have another pick here to finish this NBA draft.
Wow. So they are going to New York. This is going to New York?
This is going to New York.
Wait, what?
Yep, y'all traded him.
Oh, that's terrible. Tyler's been waiting all day for a pick.
Wait,
they just traded it?
But this wasn't the trade from last year.
Yeah.
Because
this is the next pick.
Interesting. Because
I'm going to check. Go ahead.
Did they just trade it?
Yeah, Shams reported 1 minute ago. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Come on, baby.
Who do you got?
Oh, boy. Come on, just give me
somebody he scouted. That's who he's hoping for. That's what
you have the France guard.
Do I even have a France guard left? No, I don't even have a France guard. I do have some international players left. Here's your international player, Bryson. How about Montis Rubstavicius from Lithuania?
Wow.
I had him.
Montis Rubstavicius.
I had all those guys for the Mavs.
Good. Here it is. Okay, here's the moment of truth, Guido. Here we go. Oh, he's giving this nice little speech about all the picks. Okay. We really like you, Mr. Smiles, but I want to hear who the pick is for Mike's sake.
So wait, so then Dallas actually ended up with a Jinsa.
I guess they would have, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That's what it just looks like. Yeah.
Here's the pick. Ariel Hookporty.
Yes!
He did it!
We got it! Let's go!
There we go.
Yeah!
We did it.
Hey, good
All
shit,
right.
Mike.
Look at that, Mike. I wish we had the 8 o'clock spot like victory music that I could play for you right now. Unfortunately, we do not have that.
Mike, congratulations, man.
Number 68 on the board, fellas.
68. Oh, it's flirting with it there.
68. He was the guy that was right above Montis Rubstavicius. Man, oh man, what a day. What a day. Loving it, loving it, loving it.
That's amazing.
Where is he?
So
Where is he? Here we go. 6'11", 246, 8.7 rebounds a game. Last year, he played for MHP Ryzen Ludwigsburg in the Durban BBL, and then he played for Melbourne United in the NBL. Mammoth center, old school style of play. He puts his back to the basket. He's a post-up sort of big. Great shot blocker. He wins on the block. He isn't a great lateral mover, but he can anchor the middle and provide like a stiff paint presence. He does have, like I said, one of these large bodies, big time interior presence. Good low post scorer when he's given the opportunities. He's not a shooter. He's a very traditional, like rim running center, but he reminds me a lot of Udoka Azubuike as a center. So there we go, man. We're ready. We did it. Listen, I only scouted 70 players. Okay. I've had a busy last few months. I'm so happy.
Is it worth it?
So happy we did it.
He did it. Listen, Mike Guido is a very happy guy today. So overall takeaways for this draft, or even overall takeaways for day 2 of this draft, the only day 2 draft thus far in NBA history, in the history of the draft. So talk to me about your overall thoughts on this thus far, since it's now concluded.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of disappointed. I saw all these reports that Cleveland was going to try and get back into the second round, and they never did it. But whatever. I can only ask for so much. But yeah, overall good. And I think honestly, I was expecting more chaos out of this draft than we actually got. I'm surprised that some guys didn't get drafted. Like, I'm really surprised that Trenton Flowers didn't get drafted. I'm surprised that Justin Edwards didn't get drafted. I mean, the rest of them, you could kind of see it. I mean, Reese Beekman, as far as like a defender, I think is somebody that could have gotten drafted as well. Trey Alexander out of Creighton, but Keyshawn Johnson, like I said, he's sort of the Draymond Green of this draft, I thought, out of Arizona. But overall, good stuff. It was solid 2-day event. I think it could have been 1 day, but there we are.
we're getting some ready for you here to be able to show it's kind of like a reward for your hard working efforts.
I have a reward now.
You get a reward now, and I'm putting it together at this last second because you're very deserving. I'll put it this way because I'm downloading it on my computer right now. So, the thing is, you have, and by the way, shout out to Tyler. Tyler was not able to finish out the show. So shout out to Tyler, did a great job for us the last couple of shows. Breaking on the draft. Shout out to Barry Grant Jr., who was a part of this. Shout out to Dylan Lima, part of this. Everybody who's tuned in. But we do have one last little thing here from Mike Guido, because we kind of teased you about the mock draft accuracy. What we can say is that for the first time in your draft scouting career, my friend, you went perfect, and for that you get a smiley face. So congratulations to Mike Guido for going 58 for 58. Every player that was drafted tonight, and yes, and last night as well, Mike Guido scouted, put the hard time, hard hours in. And how does it feel to be a scouting accuracy champion?
I'm stunned, really. I was not expecting it, to be honest with you. I was really expecting to get my heart broken just because, I was short on evaluations this year. I only evaluated 70 players. Last year I evaluated 120 and I missed, right? So I evaluated more than double of how many players would have gotten drafted, and I still missed. So I wasn't feeling confident in this year. I was expecting to maybe even miss a few, but it feels great. It feels great. I feel awesome. I'm happy with the Cavs pick from yesterday. Jalen Tyson is a good player. So I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Hey, listen, no picks for my Warriors, but I like some of the moves we made. And listen, Paul George could be a dub, as soon as this weekend. But I'll say this, as they say, less is more, right? Maybe this should be your mindset going into future drafts. That maybe this is a repeatable sort of process for you.
Yeah. Now, well, listen. Now I've got the blueprint. I've got the, I've got it all now. We're good.
Yep. Listen, man, it's been a great draft process. Great day today. The lives of 28 young men. The lives of 28 young men and their families have been changed forever. Bronny James goes today, a historic moment in the history of professional sports. I'll definitely be talking about it tomorrow on Carving It Up. But Mike Guido, shout out to you, I almost said Mel Kiper, the Jay Billis of our Gryd Network NBA draft coverage. Can you believe it's been 4 years since that we've been doing this? 25 will be a 5-year anniversary. We'll have to do something special for that. But that's Mike Guido, great stuff as always. A++ draft analysis. And listen, we'll be back in here next year in June of 2025 with more great draft coverage and analysis. But until then, we will see you once again. I am Bryson Carver. That is Mike Guido. See you next time. God bless y'all. Peace out.